All right, we're live. Welcome to Unethical Hoops with Drago and Bulletproof. Today we're talking about the top 10 players of all time, which may sound like a somber topic, but why not? We can do that again in the summer, but I mean, here we are now. I think this is the kind of topic that could stir up some controversies. I know for a fact my list is controversial. What about you, Diego? What's up first?
I
How is it?
I think it's actually a really good idea because we're doing all of the great players series that we're doing right now, where
Yeah.
we're going through all their careers one by one. So I think it's interesting that we do this list and then we see when we're done what has changed. Do we want to move someone up or we just surmise it? And I think that's an interesting exercise for us to do. And yeah, I had I think I had a pretty easy, not an easy time with the top of the list, but like beyond four, it was kind of difficult for me what I should do. If we're going to talk a little bit quickly criteria, I talk exclusively on the basketball court. I'm not going into any accolades. How much do I like you? How cool do I think you are? And I'm also talking only NBA. What you did in the college or the Olympics for the most part, I don't care about. I only care about how good of an NBA player I think you are. And for me, longevity matters in and of its sense. But I also do have peaks in mind beyond just how much does it impact your career value. Like I do give some extra deference to okay, at their best, who is actually the best. So it's a bit of a mix of peak, career value, and prime for me is how I look at it.
All right. That's a good thing to know. But first, I was asking about on a scale of like 1 to 10, how controversial do you think your list is?
I think the first name is going to be controversial, but he always is.
First, in terms of the top or the number
No,
10?
no, the number 10 is going to be controversial, but that's
Okay, I hope
always
it's not.
he's
I
always
hope
going to
it's
be.
not Draymond Green, right? I mean,
What is no, I'm kidding.
okay. Before we
I'm
get
kidding.
there, if like okay, my criteria is more simple. Of course, it's not nothing off the court. But I will say that I put more weight on who I'd rather have on my team, which makes the list more subjective because it's always about team construction for me because it's a team sport, and I know that this particular part of the game is very subjective. Some people prefer certain types of teams over others. I tend to lean more towards less versatile players leading more versatile teams than the other way around. I don't like teams to be more simple so that the players can be more versatile. I don't like that. So it might not lean towards the norm in a way, but in the end, all of these are all-time great players. So I don't think the list is very controversial, but it has some controversial placements. As for the actual like part of the criteria that is uh, you know objective in a way, it's or at least like quantifiable. I'd say there's value, impact, and how good you are as a player. How good you are as a player is just how good you are at basketball. And I think everyone who watched any kind of basketball would say like, okay, LeBron and MJ are the best players of all time. And impact to me is what your presence on the court does, regardless of how good you play. I think the Mount Rushmore of that could be, Bill Russell, Tim Duncan, Shaq, and maybe Steph Curry. Those four, because of what their presence does, regardless of what their numbers end up being at the end of the game. Uh, and then there's value, which again is subjective because it's all about one, how much I'd want to have you on my team, and two, it's about the value of what you actually do on the court. And that's also subjective because it comes from the first part. So that's my
I
criteria.
also want to say for me, there
Yeah.
is no time machines. I try to not consider what could Tim Duncan do in the 70s. Like Tim Duncan played from 1997 to 2016. What was he in that time frame? So I don't care. Could he fit with 2020 Nikola Jokic, or could he fit
I
with
agree.
Kareem? Or
I
how would
agree.
he be against Kareem? I don't care about that. I try to just look at how good you are in the air. I do also. It's kind of the same what you were saying, but how I think of it is if I put you on a random team or every team in the league, how would the betting odds in my mind of that team winning the championship change?
Yeah,
Is
every team in
kind
the
of
league at the time you played, though, right?
yeah at the time of the play. So if I took Tim
Okay.
Duncan off and I put him on the Lakers in 2002, I put him on the Sixers, I put him on every team, and like how does the championship odds change every time I do? That's kind of a rough guideline. Just like it's not it's not like I've done gone through every team. Like that's more of a rough way of thinking of it. Like I care about championship value. I don't if you can make a 20 team win team, a 40 win team, great. But I really care about can you make a 40 win team, a 60 win team, like because that's where the championship equity is usually. But I
Mhm.
think we should get started if you have nothing more.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you on the era tax thing. I do not like era taxing players. I think the only thing you can use is competition, but other than that, that's like not.
The only one that might be a little bit will be Kareem in the 70s because the league was split in NBA and in ABA. So I do think
Yeah,
that is
I
something.
mean,
I think that
maybe.
is fair to consider that
Yeah,
half.
competition. Yeah, that's competition, though, not like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
he
the
was.
only thing I would be a little bit outside of the scope. Maybe.
Okay, let's
I
start
think we
with
should
the
start with the
honorable
honorable
mention.
mentions.
Yeah, I have two honorable mentions and one dishonorable mention. One honorable mention is actually interesting to have him at 12, I think, is controversial, or even at 11, because he's one of the two honorable mentions. So it's either 11 or 12. And when we have a longer list next time, that will be difficult because these two players are very difficult to rank for me 11 and 12. And it's. But no, let me start with the dishonorable mention because this could be a clip. This is a player who should have been top 12. Heck, he should have been top 10 in my list, but he's not. If we're just talking best basketball players ever, he would have been maybe top 5, but he's not even in the top 12 because of the other things I mentioned. And his name is Wilt Chamberlain. I don't know if I'll have a top 20 list where he'd be there. He could be at 20, could be 19, I don't know. So I'm just saying right now that he's not in my list and he's not even one of the two honorable mentions. But I had to say that he's not there because he's a polarizing name. Not mentioning him would be disingenuous because of how good he was. So he has to be mentioned.
I agreed.
After,
Wilt was my first off the list. I was very close to putting him on because for me it was especially the peak, like 66,
Mhm.
67, where he you could argue he was the best. Like that's the only time in Bill Russell's career the Celtics wasn't the number one defense in the league. Was because the 76ers was the best defense in the league. That one
Mhm.
time. So I think that really says a lot about Will Chamberlain and his defense. So what took him down is his longevity, not because he didn't play a long time, but because he had so many years. If you had like a graph of Will Chamberlain's impact, it could go like here, then here in the season he want to score 50 points and not pass the ball though. Then maybe here, then here, then here, then here again because he's starting to chase something else. Then here
Yeah,
in the seasons he started to be a great assist player and be more of a teammate, and then here, and then he gets older. So if he had like an 8 year period of being what he was in 66, 67, he's on like he might be like top 6 or whatever, top 5. Like he was
if yeah,
awesome in those years. He was probably better than Bill Russell in 66 and 67 than Bill
yeah,
Russell was at his peak. He just didn't sustain it for that long because he started chasing stats anywhere. Like, and it's I understand why you call him a dishonorable mention because it feels so self-inflicted. Like there's no, it's no
exactly,
outside forces.
exactly.
Not because his teammates were bad, like my number 8 player will get to. It's not because of anything else other than you didn't want to play winning basketball. You wanted to be all these other stuff. And that might be over exaggerating a bit. There's not that many 60s games. We have to go off report of what we hear. We have to see the clips where he blocks his teammates' shots. Which there's some
Yeah,
strategy, and you're 7'1" and you block your teammates' shots and just dunk it. That there's some value in that. I see the vision, but I think that's what hold him. That's and I understand why you call him dishonorable mention because it still feels self inflicted more than all these other guys.
That's the point, yeah, because I think Wilt is one of those players that, to me, one of the things that I know it's off court, but I cannot keep my eyes off of it is when you're good enough to be there, but you're not there for other reasons. Now, I don't know if KD is an example of this, but he's still very high. Like, I don't think my ranking of KD is different from most people. Even though I do talk about him, maybe I'm higher on his actual skill set than other people. But like he's still like a top 15 player. But I mean, like this is a top 10 list. So oh, someone is in the lobby. Let me check. Oh, Jason Grills. Let's add him to the stage. Say hi to him, and then
What a
continue.
billionaire.
Yo, what's up?
What's
What's
up
up?
to the one and only billionaire?
What's up? Yo,
Mhm.
man. I'll be honest. I made it top 10. I think it's. I think I made it within like 2 hours. So this is not very well thought out.
No, I
Yep.
made mine at like 10. I did not put much thought into mine.
But I did
I've
know
had,
how I did one. So
I think I've had the list for a few weeks. But okay, so let's get to the honorable mentions. Do you have some honorable mentions? Uh, and what are your thoughts on Wilt? Did you hear what we said about Wilt?
nah. I just got here.
Okay, so what are you? What's your first name of the honorable mentions if you have honorable mentions? Is it Alonso Mourning or is he actually in the top 10?
Nah. It's not that far. My fandom doesn't go that far. But my first honorable mention, actually, this is the person that because he could have been my top 10. I was going back and forth from the person in my 10. I got Hakeem as an honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
He's he was very back and forth. Like my honorable be honest with you, like I have 15 guys. From 15 to 7, I could have replaced any of these guys in any order possible.
Oh, okay.
It was that close to me.
Yeah. If you can
And
just say the five names without going into too much details, you can do that.
the
The five
five
players. Yeah, the
the
five
five
that
like
you ended
five
up
of the first
leaving.
five,
Yeah.
I got you. So like
The five
I
you ended up leaving out. Yeah.
got Bird is right there as well.
Oh my god. Okay.
All right. We got Magic there as well.
Oh my god.
Then we got Bill.
Mm,
And then
well,
the last player I got, I think personally, I think I can still argue for being top 10. I don't see enough praise for this guy. I got David Robinson. My like that's
I
David.
like that
he's there.
name.
He's there. Like
That's a good name.
he's arguably there.
I like that
Yeah,
name.
that's a good name.
I
Uh,
had my
Go
honorable mentions is the same you just said. So Bird, Magic, David Robinson, Will we already mentioned, and then KD was also an honorable mention for me.
ahead. So all of these guys, along with Wilt, are not in your top 10. That's interesting. There is a name I think we'll all agree on that no one outside of this stream will agree on,
There's
though.
three people that has this guy top 10, and I love it. I love it.
Uh, no, I mean, I almost had him top 10, and I'll say his name right now because he's in my honorable mentions. Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, we'll get to him. We'll get
Yup.
to him. We
Yup.
will get to
Yeah,
him.
We
I
locked.
almost had him there. I almost did, but he's probably 11. Him and Hakeem became my honorable mentions. Um, Hakeem is my honorable mention because he was top 10 until like a year or two ago to me. The last time I did top 10, at least, he was there. Kevin Garnett was like 13 or 14, but I became higher on him than Wilt and like Jokic maybe because I almost had Jokic in the top 12 as well. But yeah, Kevin Garnett to me is better than those. I
Can I
just
say where I had Wilt at all? Or
Yeah,
uh,
go ahead.
yeah, I got Wilt at 10.
okay, we'll get to the top
I was
10.
going between him and McKean. That was
And what
gonna
you
be my
said?
problem. I got Wilt at 10. Like Hill McKean. Now I was battling between those two.
Mhm.
I can be
So
convinced either way.
we'll get to the actual 10, but first, I will say that the difference to me the reason I ended up having Kevin Garnett as high as this is the criteria I came up with, which is the subject, like who I'd rather have on my team. I don't think there are many players in league history that I'd rather have on my team over KG because he's such a great player in so many different things. There are two things he does that I don't think I've ever seen anyone do them at that level, which is intensity and IQ. How many players play with that much energy and are that smart at the same time?
We
It,
we will get to him. Don't even worry
yeah,
about
but you
it.
will
Dude,
get to him because he's in your
don't.
list. I think he's in Jason's list because we're
Yep.
probably the three highest on him. So yeah, we'll get to him when you guys talk about
I
your list. So number 10, who would I
What is
mean?
your number 10, Amir?
My number 10 is Stephen Curry.
I
Uh,
had him. I want to say one thing. From like 5 to I want to say 13, they are all in the same tier to me. Like they're like when these players are this good, like the difference is very small.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
I
Like
think even
he's
from 1 to
6 to me.
12, yeah. From 1 to 12 to me, it's all very close, really. But yeah,
For me, my top four was just stapled, and anybody else I could have switched out. It was just that's how it was to me.
Yeah,
yeah.
I had him 6 and where did you have did you have Steph as an honorable mention, Jason, or where did you
Nah,
have
nah, he's 9.
9? I
In
am yeah, I had him 6. So
Jason, yeah, okay. So he's in your top. Okay, let's talk about our number 10s first. So my number 10 is Steph because I think
it,
if I don't need to explain why he's not lower. I'll explain why he's not higher. And that's probably going to shape my list further because I would rather, again, he's in a list of who I'd rather have both KG and Steph would be higher than 11 and 10. And also in terms of impact, I already said Steph is in the Mount Rushmore of impact, depending on my definition of impact. But the reason he's lower, particularly, is injuries. I think him getting injured all of these times, especially in the playoffs, and also in the regular season, really, that hurt him to me because it's also part of reliability and value. Like most of these guys have had stable careers compared to him. He's just too unavailable compared to the others. That to me is why he's not higher than like Magic maybe. Magic is very close to him as a basketball player. He's number 9, by the way. I it would as a basketball player it's difficult for me to rank them, but Magic is
It went dark on us.
yeah, it went dark mode over there. I'm gonna get to my number 10, and this is going to be the most controversial thing in this video.
All
My
right.
number 10 is Kobe Bryant. I'm
okay.
sorry.
You guys hear
That's
me?
I'm not mad at it.
okay, good. Yeah, but what I said is my number 10 is Kobe Bryant. The reason for this is that I think his peak never to me really hit the heights that some of these other guys did, where like a Steph, you like in 16, 17, just hits ridiculous levels. With Kobe, the thing I would need for his peak to really get there is for me to believe he was that defensive player that he was in his early years, which I just don't think he was in 06 and 07, 08, where he was at his offensive peak and the passing was there. He kind of like he was the best, like his tough shot making throughout his career was amazing, but he never really had that undeniable offensive like presence like the LeBron, a Jordan had, where they were just so good at getting the Stephs, the Shaqs, the most efficient shots that they're just the offensive goats. So I think Kobe's a bit below them, but he was really good in playing off of Shaq. He was actually a really good off-ball player, even though people call him a ball hog and shot chucker. He was really good at like maneuvering off the ball, running off, spotting off for mid ranges in the right way. I think he was in his early years. He was a good defender. I maybe think he was still overrated when he in his earliest. I don't think he was like the clear best guard defender in the league. I can't go that far. I don't think he's as good as the Tony Allens, the Drew Holidays, the kind of the all time defensive guards, even in his early years. So, but what got him at 10 for me is the longevity because even in 2000 in his first like really good season, he's getting like he picked them up in the finals in the game Shaq had to go out. In 01, he was amazing, obviously. That's maybe where he had his best game ever versus the Kings in game 4. We had like in 02, 03, then 04, he takes a little step back. 05, he gets hurt. Then 06, he levels up. 08, 09, 10. Then you also have 11, 12, and then 13, he tears the Achilles. So I think that is what got him at 10 for me. But I don't want to say I don't understand why people have. I do understand why people think his peak is higher than I think it is, but I couldn't get him higher than 10.
I think personally, so I have Kobe above Steph Curry. I don't want to reveal I have him now, I guess, but Steph Curry. My problem with Steph that I guess a lot of all time scorers have that I don't like about him, and partially his fault, partially not his fault. The ability not to be able to draw as many free throws as I think you can draw as one of the best shooters of all time really does hurt. I think the fact that we are one of the best shooters, but the fact that you can't draw probably the easiest shot ever to make consistently. And Kobe to me, I think he's not better offensively than Steph, but I also do think the value of the half-court offense in the early 2000s was a lot more valuable than it was for when Curry was doing it. And because getting it out the mud, that was basically the whole game back in the 2000s. If you were able to make tough shots consistently, if you were able to beat people off the dribble consistently, then you were just one of the best players in the league. That's just how it was. And Kobe, I don't think you can name more than 5 half-court scorers better than Kobe, especially when he brought the pass. I always thought Kobe was a good passer from like 2000, like all the rest of his career. He just became more elite at it later on. But even in those 03 years, when his defense and his offense was a little more coinciding together, it was like the passing was still there, but obviously like, it's easier to pass when you're passing the Shaq, but the passing was still there.
He was a good entry passer. He was a really good entry passer when he played.
Great entry passer. That was kind of you kind of have to be actually like a mid-level good entry passer back in the day when it came to like early 2000s because we had to pass to the big, so that skill was more developed. I feel like.
Okay, so Jason, what did you say your number 10 was? I forgot.
Oh, my number 10 was Wilt.
Okay, so that's why we're talking about Kobe and Steph. Okay, so I got cut off because the electricity got out for a few seconds. I don't know what happened there. I found it dark suddenly. Anyway, it was weird. So I wanted to say the difference, Steph and Kobe to me, let me just say that they're both the least consistent shooters of the list because of their small frame. Basically, they're both the smallest in this list. So, like in the top 10, I mean. So
you're both very reliant on the outside shot.
Yeah, they're at least consistent on my list.
That's why they're reliant on the outside shot, and I think Kobe having the free throw makes him more consistent than Steph in that regard in terms of output. But he's not more impactful than Steph when the shot is not falling. That's for sure. So he's more consistent, yes, but he's less impactful. But he's still very impactful with the jump shot and the gravity and the off-ball movement and stuff like that. We'll get to that when I talk about him. But I think we can go to number 9 now.
I just wanted to say one more thing about Kobe. I do think like that Kobe and Steph, because I do think that scoring gives like that tough shot making do give him a scoring floor in the playoffs. Like there's not gonna be a fall off for Kobe. Like he was already taking the toughest shot. So what if you play good defense? Like he was making tough shots anyway. And I do think with Steph, he has this advantage that a lot of the good defensive players has in that no matter how bad he is at scoring the basketball or doing a lot of things offensively, there's this thing he can fall like there's this floor to his impact because he requires so much attention from the other team that even as long as they commit so many resources to him, even if he doesn't make shots, like that
Exactly.
just inherently
Yeah, you're
valuable.
right.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
that's so inherently valuable, and that people complain about it that like it means that Steph is unable to have a bad game, and like okay, yeah, like that's the same with these great defense players. People talking about Wemby. Maybe Wemby can't have a bad game just on offense. Like if he's terrible on
Mm,
offense, he'll still be a good player just because his defense is that valuable. I think it's a little bit of the same with Steph, even if he's terrible shooting the ball and passing, because he requires so much attention. It just gives him some flaw, even like the inconsistent, like even if he's inconsistent as a scorer, like just
yeah,
the attention he draws just gives him a flaw in value, in my opinion.
yeah. Steph is the best example of the difference between impact and production that I talked about earlier.
Mm.
He's the
You mean
most,
all the defensive players?
yeah, he's in the most impactful four, but he's not in terms of consistency of production and longevity. He's not up there because of his
So
injuries and because of his limitations. But the other three I mentioned were like Bill Russell, Tim Duncan because of defense, and Shaq because of the same thing as Steph but inside.
what do you
Uh,
think Kobe's defensive floor was then?
what?
I I I I think in like '06, '07, '06 and beyond, I will say his defense, like, yeah, he's not going to get attacked every time. We're not in that. Like, he's not a Jokic, a Steph versus the Cavs. That's not the situation we're in. I just think he provides very little defensive value. And even when he was like, he ended up, when I watched him play the Suns in '06, where he ended up guarding Steve Nash, and he just had no hope of guarding Steve Nash. So, like, it was just, I think him on defense is just very. I think at least he's overrated because the defensive teams he made. He
Well,
made like
don't you think he was? My thing with Kobe is like I can understand defensive like lapses and defensive criticism because he definitely didn't have them. He's kind of like going like he went through the same thing that I think a player who's playing right now, Anthony Edwards, goes through.
yeah.
In a sense where the defense might be lackluster until that fourth quarter hits, and now your guy's locked up. He's not doing anything anymore, and that happened so many times with Kobe that I don't mind. I don't mind as much if my best player can be my best offensive player, keep the game close. Then the fourth quarter, now clutch time, he's locking up everybody.
I maybe just didn't see that as much. I think even like when they put in '01 when they played the Sixers. Oh, it's game one. So that's what the game I kind of remember watching lately. So that's a bit of like that was obviously the game AI went off. I remember him not being able to cut it on Iverson for it, whatever.
Mhm.
Well,
And
sometimes
then
you don't get cooked. That's all it is.
sometimes you're gonna get cooked. That is true.
It's
And
AI.
like
You're gonna
they were
get cooked.
trying, but they were also putting other. They were putting like more their Tyrone Lewis. I
I
can't
mean,
remember the name. They were putting other
Tyron,
guys on Allen Iverson. Like it was not like I don't even think for a lot of Kobe's career they were not just using him as this. Oh, we're just gonna put him on the best perimeter player and just stop him. And I definitely think that even in fourth quarters, I didn't see that as much. And in the '08 final, in the Boston series, he obviously couldn't really be on Ray Allen because Ray Allen, like he couldn't like run off screens. And I also understand that if you're the main offensive threat, you don't want to be running around screens from Ray Allen for a whole game.
I
Like
mean, you have two other elite offensive players that you could defend anyway. Why would you put him on Real?
you're
Uh,
putting him in Rondo, right?
yeah, yeah, Rondo and Pierce. But yeah, I mean, Pierce was defended by Artest mostly, so he defended Rondo, and he actually did a good job on Rondo in a way. I mean, because he wasn't trying to defend him up front. I mean, he was giving him the space and then hunting
Yeah.
him at the right time. Uh, like trying to defend the passing lanes and stuff. Because he's one of the few people that realized Rondo isn't that dangerous. Like, I mean, not as a player, but as like a as an athletic threat. Because he was athletic, So you had this fear of getting blown by. But even if he gets by you, he's not even a good free throw shooter, so you can just foul him. Like that's something I think he realized with Rondo. Even Rondo talked about it when he got guarded by Kobe. He said Kobe figured him out. But one last thing I want to say about Kobe, since it's a negative thing in a way, and when I get to him, it will be mostly positive things. Um, I think Kobe's most efficient years happened in bad years. It was '05 and 2013. I don't think these 2 years are as good as people would look at the numbers and think they were. '05 is his, I mean, both of them are his highest assist numbers, uh, and both of them were efficient, like because he wasn't playing in the triangle, so he played in a system that made him the playmaker, like top of the key playmaker. And I think that's not Kobe. When he plays like that, he becomes more efficient stat wise, but his impact goes down. So I think in a like if Kobe plays today, it would be better to use him as a Steph than as a Luca, if that makes sense.
I agree.
Maybe you could still use him as a Luca because today there is like no many great coaches anyway, so it doesn't matter if like you have the triangle or not. But I'm saying that at the time, off ball movement was so important that him outplaying other players in that regard was more important than him looking more efficient on the stat sheet. So to me, his efficiency as a player, even if he tried to be picky with his shots to do it, he wouldn't be impactful. He would look good on paper, but he wouldn't be as impactful as people who say, "Oh, if you put him in today's game with all of this spacing," I don't think that's Kobe's game. He would look good on paper, yes, but would he actually be as impactful as he was in his time? I don't think so.
Don't you think he has that Steph Curry thing? Like, no, like not in the same extent at all, nowhere near. But I think don't you think he has the same Steph Curry thing where Kobe was just his motor was crazy offensively, and he will run
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much to
for
get a
That's
sure.
what I
ball.
meant.
And
That's what I meant.
that Steph Curry did that more than anyone, but I think Kobe's off ball move. I think Kobe's off ball motor is underrated because that
On the
made you
triangle,
run.
on the triangle, yes. But
Yeah.
in the non-triangle years, Kobe's looked at times like he's only valuable when he has the ball in his hands. And even though the numbers look better, I don't think he was more impactful.
Well, also
And
And that
sometimes no one can throw a pass to him. So
I think we'll get to it. We'll get more into his positives when you guys say where he is. Who's your guy's number 9?
uh okay, my number 9 is Magic. I already said it, and
Oh,
I talked about him a lot in our episode about him. Him and Steph to me are 1A and 1B as the best point guards. I think he's the best playmaker of all time, the best passer. Not the best playmaker, the best passer of all time, because there is LeBron James. We'll get to him. Um, so he's the best passer of all time, and he's the best like actual offensive runner with the ball in his era compared to his era than anyone else. Because what he did, I think, is more transcendent than what even LeBron did later on. But still, like LeBron is just a better version. So him and Steph, to me, he's more reliable as in terms of production and value, but Steph is more reliable in terms of impact. The only reason I have him over Steph, like I said, is he got injured like once or twice. Steph keeps getting injured every year or like every other year. And that
yeah.
to me matters. When you're the franchise player to that degree, I think that matters more than I'd like it to, because I'd like to keep this list purely basketball, but I think that matters. Availability matters. So yeah.
so I almost put Magic at 10. I agree with a lot of what you say. I also think he's the best passer ever, in my opinion. I think his ability to just make everything transition is really what puts him there for me. Is like that's why he's one of the, like maybe the offensive goats, because he would make everything transition in a league where half court offense was not that high, and he would even like just find insane passes that make no sense in the half court. I tracked this for our Magic series. He had like a game where he found 8 layup passes in one game. Like that's crazy value. Um, but why he's not on here is it's almost it's longevity for me, but it's also that he retired because of the HIV, but it's also because in the start I'm not that high on his early years as some others are, where he was playing more of a forward and not playing point guard. Where I really don't like him defensively, playing more of a forward three, and giving up in the rebounding game I think was really big, and I just that's why he's not in like this top 10. So like his early years is not as good as maybe other people say. But my number 9 is Mr. Fundamental, Tim Duncan.
Mm.
To me, I think he's one of the best rim protectors ever. His isolation game, I think someone sometimes get underrated, and for how strong he was. And I think we can talk more about him when I say my number 8, because they're very connected. I don't know if we already mentioned him all, obviously, because then we can compare and contrast them a lot. But he was an amazing defensive player. He's the best player that ever won Defensive Player of the Year, other than the guys that played before Defensive Player of the Year, which were like Bill Russell and Wilt. I think he's one of the maybe 5 best defenders ever, maybe 8.
Yeah,
Whatever.
he's won like
He was really good in isolation. We'll get to him more when I say my number 8, because then we can compare and contrast. Who was your number 9, Grills?
I had Steph number 9, and I think there was a point of time where I didn't have Steph in my top 10, and I was super high on Magic. It was to the point where, if you asked me as a little kid, I was saying Magic's top 3. That's how high I was on Magic, and I can see. The more I think about it, I'm somewhat leaning on the side that Magic's better than Steph Curry. So I'm disagreeing with my own list a little bit here. Because Magic, to me, I'm not high in his scoring earlier on. I think his scoring later on got like way better. It became great. But he's a molded player that I don't think that I can put him in my criteria as like an offensive player. So okay, he matches that because he breaks down mold. How good he was as a passer, playmaker, transition player, and how good he was even at like a half court passing, how good he was at passing out of the post. To me, that breaks the mold of what I can say how good an offensive player of his, what he's doing could be. And that guy, it has to mean something, because Steph also did that, but I think Magic probably did that on a greater scale, to the point where Magic might just be, to me, he might just be better offensively than Steph.
Yeah.
I think that's almost where I'm at now.
All right. I think we can get into to my number 9 now, because my number 8 is Kevin Garnett. And it is very,
I
very
have him above Timmy.
I have him above Tim Duncan.
I didn't expect Duncan to be this low, to be honest, on your list specifically. Like, for a guy who almost had Draymond Green on this list, you should have.
I did not almost have Draymond Green on this list.
That was nasty. That's nasty.
No, but I'll say
they're quite honorable mention.
Yeah, they're right honorable mention. Our good friend Tiltown Hoops was just on House of Highlights and had to very much argue this, and his statement was that Tim Duncan is by far the best power forward ever, and I think a lot of people agree with that. And I think it's because of accolades, rings, those things. I think, and I was a little bit on the timeline on Twitter trying to go out and say Kevin Garnett is better than Tim Duncan. I saw Mars out there too. So I think Kevin Garnett is better. I think they're like this, and the reason I say Kevin Garnett is because no one else said Kevin Garnett. Like, if you really asked me, I would probably say they're equally good. But since I have to pick someone, my tiebreaker is going to be no one else says KG, so I'm going to.
I mean, didn't Ron say KG at some point? I think
there PC is a select community where we get people who say this, If you go on Twitter and if you go
I
on Facebook,
know.
You might be surprised where I have KG at this point. We won't be at
Yeah,
KG for a
that's
little bit.
crazy. Actually, it's the
We
perfect.
won't be at KG for a
I
while.
wish I had the courage, and I might. I think okay. If we're going to discuss KG and Tim Duncan, I think Tim Duncan's strengths compared to KG is his strength. He was more strong, lower center of gravity, be able to push people out of his way on both his drives and his post ups. I think that helped him a lot. I think on defense, he was maybe a little bit better of just a straight rim protector. Tim Duncan was really good with his off-arm move, where if you went up to contest you, he would kind of hold you down with his run up one arm and then contest with that other long arm because he had arms for days. He was probably a better isolation scorer than Kevin Garnett because of the post up, just the strength. But I think KG had so many strengths. He was like a really good rim protector, not the all-time best. Then he was also really good at switch. He was switching on the fucking Kobe Bryant. He was switching on the point guards. He was guarding point guards from the start if they needed that. He was amazing. His motor on defense is the highest I have ever seen. Like he is bouncing up and down all the time, just noticing threats all over the court. I think he is, in a sense, a perfect defensive player, and there's no weaknesses to him. The only weakness I could say is that he wasn't strong enough to deal with Shaq. But
Yeah.
No one weakness in this game to me was that his team was ass. To me, his main weakness was his team. You putting Kevin Garnett as the number one offensive player was be the only weakness because he should not be there.
And I harbor very little animosity toward NBA franchises. I hate the Timberwolves for what they did to Kevin Garnett. Like it's so annoying the times I have to hear people say KG couldn't win in Minnesota. Like people don't understand. He had a good team once, and then his second best player gets hurt.
And even that team, that team wasn't even that. Like
they weren't even that good.
The team wasn't winning anything.
But it was passable. Like that is the only best passable team he had. Not like KG, great.
If KG
he had a very old Sam Cassell and like hothead Latrell Sprewell, and then the rest were also the same trash players he had before. So I don't think that backcourt is as good. Like they were good, but they were very old.
He was playing point guard at times.
They were both past their primes.
He was like playing point guard on offense and center on defense at points when they were in small ball five. Yeah. Like that just says something about they have no talent around him.
The jump passes that man would make.
He was, oh my God, he was a ridiculous passer. I think, but also this is the biggest disservice to KG because I think I think people think he's more of a floor racer. I think he's maybe the biggest ceiling racer we have ever seen. Like he fits with, there's no good player you can think of in your mind that KG wouldn't be the perfect fit for. You can ball heavy point guard, Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, all those guys. He was also an amazing screen setter. He could do all these things. He was amazing pass in the short roll. If you give him the ball out of the post.
By the way, even the power forward.
Ryan, he could play off. Tim Duncan, he could have slid to the 3 with Timmy, or Timmy could slid to the 5, and KG could play the 4. And Shaq, he could play the 4 off of Shaq, and you're just never going to score ever. They could play like a high-low sets. You could play with Paul Pierce, LeBron. He could be like more of a spacing center, what Chris Bosh became for LeBron. Like he fits with like Bird, Magic, Jordan. If you want to go back in time,
even the power forwards, like I said, like Charles Barkley and Karl Malone, I think he can play with them. Like
it's not like he can play with them.
He can play with Giannis. He can play with Giannis as well. Like all of these guys would be better with KG. I don't think there's any player he doesn't fit with. I agree with that.
And when we say fit, like I'm actually saying like he would be like the top 5 guys I would want for this guy. Like it's not even
all day.
Any single one.
Oh, there we go.
And like I just think that's one of the biggest disservice that this league has ever done to anyone was that we didn't get to see KG in his prime, in his peak with good players.
can I have a checkpoint here? Because as a host, I think it's my job to do this. Should we just agree from now on that we'll only talk about the player when the last, like the highest person on him gets to him? Because I don't want to keep going back and forth on the
Yeah.
same players.
Well, but
So
Grills just reveals where he has KG, and
Oh, you want me
then
to tell you where I
yeah,
have KG right
yeah,
now?
I know, but what I'm saying is from now on we'll
yeah,
talk about the player when the highest person on him
I got you. All
yes,
right.
is going to name that
I agree.
person.
I do think KG and Tim Duncan are an exception because they're kind of linked together.
Yeah, but we've been doing that with Steph as well, and like
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
want to have
I
like a
agree.
more
I agree. Let's
unified.
not go back too much.
Yeah. So did Jason say his number 8 yet?
No, my number eight's I had number eight's Kevin Garnett. That's Kevin Garnett. I have Kevin Durant. My fault.
Okay, Durant.
Kevin Durant's number eight for me. And I think personally, I think at this point, Kevin Durant's underrated. At this point, to me, I think when I start seeing 2025, 2026 Shea in scoring peaks conversations with Kevin Durant, I think okay, now we're underrating Kevin Durant.
Wait, is KD in Hjalmar's list?
He was my honorable mention.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So then we'll talk about him now. Then okay, go on.
So because KD to me, he was because Amir, you don't agree with this. To me, he's arguably the best scorer of all time. Now
Yeah,
I got Jay. I got my hey, MJ got it. But I think he has an argument for best scorer of all time. And to me, that's a lot of impact. I think he's maybe one of the 3 to 4 best off ball players you ever seen. I think that's where I'm at with him.
Mm,
I think his
yeah.
I think his weak side rim protection is very much underrated for those years from like 2016 to 2019. I think
Uh, I agree
those
with
were
that.
I think he had I would say the closest to not being elite, but I can see it also being elite. It's I don't know how to put it. It's not elite, but it's close. I can almost get there.
Yeah.
The fact that like because the problem with KD, well, we see now because we saw PC talking about it a whole bunch. We're seeing people talk about it a whole bunch these days. He can't make passes out of double teams, right? If you saw like younger KD, and he's up here beating double teams. He's honestly you couldn't do anything with someone who wasn't the strongest, but he was that explosive, that athletic, that long, and his first step was probably one of the best in the league. That's one thing that doesn't get talked about enough. And he's able to just get to a spot at all time. He gets to that mid range on the left side. It's just that's cash. It goes in almost every time.
Yeah.
I don't think that gets highlighted enough. I think the fact that he's probably because you say he's one of the 10, 15 best 3-point shooters ever seen.
One
I
of the
think
what?
just 3-point shooting, I would probably have a hard. I would.
Like
I think I
15,
could find
15 to
people who
20. 15 to 20, I
better
can
at
say I
hitting
can think.
3-point shots because he didn't take that many.
But
But
he was still so good at it. Like
yeah,
when he would
he's
take
an
it, it was
amazing
like,
shooter.
damn, I guess. And I think one thing that also gets underrated by KD is that we knock his defense, we knock his scoring. Well, I think his best years are kind of in the OKC Golden State years. And I think we knock it because he's playing with Golden State. He has amazing spacing, good defense, right? I don't think I'm gonna knock a player because his team put him in a good situation. I think I'm gonna up you because we're seeing the best of your abilities can possibly be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you. Um, I will say that the reason I disagree on the first part, not the second part, because I do think his defense in Golden State gets forgotten a bit. He was great. He was a great defender. He looked a little bit like KG, not KG, of course, but he looked a bit like him.
I get what.
He used his arm length to great extent in Golden State. Um, I think the reason I do not uh, I'm not as high on him is because to me it's like okay. Stephen Curry, ability wise, we know he's the best shooter ever. If he shot 7 times a game, he'd still be ability wise the greatest shooter ever. But would he be as impactful with his shot if he did that? No. I think KD is similar since he left the Thunder. In the Thunder, he was the most impactful scorer in the league by far. But since he left, he's played in teams that didn't need his scoring, and he wasn't providing enough of anything else to be an all-time great player. And that to me hindered his value as a player across his career. That's the particular part that I do not have him that high because of. It's because he should have been in situations. He's like the opposite of KG. KG was in a situation that was too bad. He was in situations that were too good at the thing he provides best, that they didn't need him to provide it that highly. Like, and even when they needed him to do that, he would drop in the playoffs, which shouldn't happen really.
But don't you
After
think don't you think his ability to intermediate score, especially on those Warriors teams where it was hard when like or going into a league where getting the 3-point shot up was a lot more prevalent, or going into a league where all out spacing was a lot more prevalent, and his ability to get into those intermediate shots, those shots that weren't getting guarded very easily, those shots that people weren't looking to take away from, that should be raising his value a little more because he was still probably the best mid-range
already
player
raising
ever
his
at
value,
that
he's
point.
like a top 15 player. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a top 20 player or
Oh no,
anything.
I get that. I just mean that point.
I do think that is really like it's what we talked about with Kobe a little bit. Like it's that like you take the very most difficult shots. So in the playoffs, people can't take that away from you. I do think that is very valuable. But I do think there is also a point of stress in the defense where it doesn't really stress the defense because it's not at the rim. So it's not collapsing the defense in the same way that these rim attackers like a LeBron does. And it's also not at the 3-point line where you get one more point for it, and where you also have the whole 3-point line to operate around. Whereas with Steph, and Steph was also
Yeah,
like tears to shooting.
that's why I disagree on the off-ball point. But go on.
Yeah, that's also why I think he's a very good off-ball player. I would probably think a Shaq is also an amazing off-ball player, just because like he did so much of his work before he got the ball. So and if I'm laughing, that's because Ron is in the chat asking if KD is top 20. But I do think he's a top 20 player. I just think his playmaking is also he couldn't just go spread pick and roll, have him be the primary offensive hub for the whole game. We saw that in the Memphis series when after Russ went down when they went out. We also saw where he did kind of get that was later on in the Brooklyn tenure in that 21 series we talked about. He was against the Bucks in that game 5. He was amazing, like playing 48 minutes, and playing like 48 minutes, and he was playmaking, doing everything for the team. I do think he showed a little bit more of being like things that would have gotten him higher. I just don't think that playmaking was too long. And now it's obviously the handle is kind of not there anymore. The quickness is not there anymore. So a reason I have him over Bird, I think Bird's peak is higher, but his longevity is why he's over Bird and probably also Magic.
That's one thing that carries it for me, KD. That longevity is insane.
But he did also lose.
Is it over Bird though? We'll get to that when we finish that Excel sheet. Maybe Bird has better longevity. Who knows?
No.
He did lose that 2020 year and the 2015 year, almost all of it. So there is some of it that goes out. And when he got to Brooklyn, he missed time in the regular season. So
in Phoenix as well, he played like 46.
He was always there in the playoffs, and that is kind of what I.
He was there.
But I definitely see. I can see why people think it's lower, think it's higher. I see both sides, but I think KD. I don't think it's insane to have him at 8.
You guys have like very fair criticisms of KD. His things that I've like noticed
I
a
do
lot.
think his defense gets overhated a little bit. I think he was a pretty good defender.
He's
I
been
think
a
people
very
go.
good defender since like he came back from the injury in 2015. But before that, he was not that good defensively. But I mean, he was very good generally before that injury. That it didn't matter. I think the main issue I have is just his scoring wasn't as impactful because of the things I mentioned, and his off ball game. I think I disagree on because it's just I don't see it. I mean, yeah, he's good. I'm not saying he's a bad off ball player. If you can shoot like that, you're good off the ball. But I don't think it's as impactful as Jason makes it out to be. To be honest, I don't
I,
think it's
I,
that.
I think his off ball play to me was more of a ceiling raising thing. Was more a ceiling raising than floor raising. I
I
think his
mean,
on ball play was more floor raising than ceiling raising.
I
I
see
think
but
that.
that
I think
I
that's a good
because
is
point.
he
when
a
you
ceiling outside of Golden State? Has he been a ceiling raiser though? Like he's been playing
In,
on
in
very
Brooklyn, in Brooklyn, they
top
did
in
it.
heavy
Brook
teams.
and oh, has he been ceiling raising outside of Golden State? He was
Brooklyn,
ceiling,
No,
Brooklyn in
he's
21, they
been
had a really
he's
he
been on
was
all star teams, bro.
he was still a ceiling raiser in OKC. He just when Russ was hurt, that wasn't his main skill set was being the off ball player and Russ getting the ball. That's why they worked so well together.
So I think we should move on. So your number 8. What was
Shout
your
out.
number 8 bulletproof?
Wait, let me first um, highlight that. Welcome
Okay,
to the stream, Kingster.
got it in here. What
Uh,
what was your number 8? If
my
you don't.
number 8 is Larry Bird. And I think I'm the highest on him since you. Or wait,
You are
Hjalmar, where are you on Bird?
honorable mention.
Oh, so you both don't have him in the top 10. That's crazy. Okay,
That's something I would have expected like a couple of years ago.
that is
Who's
wild.
number 8? My fault.
He said number 8. I had him honorable mention.
Yeah,
Oh,
you both had him as an honorable mention. Larry Bird is way too good to be an honorable mention. Like, come on now.
it's crazy because last
Larry
time I was
Bird is
here, we were praising him a whole bunch. So
yeah, like we had all of that episode and it didn't change your mind. That's crazy. Like the more I watched him, the more I was impressed. It didn't change his ranking eventually because number 7 is way too good to be moved out. He's like that's the floor for him. But we'll get to that because it's a controversial number. As for Bird, I think his like game in general, he's probably the in terms of everything you guys said about KD and more. I think he's the arguably the best all-around player of all time. He did not have any weaknesses whatsoever. Even the weaknesses are just compared to other all-time greats, not actual basketball weaknesses. He did not have any basketball weaknesses. He was a plus defender, a plus finisher, a plus shooter, a plus rebounder, a plus passer, a plus off ball player, like a plus on ball player, a plus ball handler. Like I don't see what you need more from a player. And he had the highest basketball IQ of all time. He's Jokic, a better version of Jokic. I think he's just I don't even know how you could watch Larry Bird play
I will
and not
say,
like
okay, so I think I have one major disagreement with what you said, and that is the finishing. Maybe it's not below average for all NBA players in the 80s. I haven't thought about that. But compared to these other all-time great players we're looking at, I do think the finishing really hurts his scoring value because that is the most efficient shot you can get, and his lack of verticality really hurt him there. He was a really amazing passer, nothing there. I think maybe it's because I didn't see him take over games in a sense like other guys did. I didn't really see him take over games with like his shooting, scoring, and maybe I just saw the wrong games. That's very possible. But I was very high on the off ball game, like his ability to interact with all these great players. I was really impressed with his ability to kind of just flow into and read an offense was really high. I think the defense was pretty good, and then it tailed off later on in his career. Um, but I was just not that impressed by Bird when I watched him, and that maybe that surprised me. I thought I would be more impressed, and I didn't because
I
I
felt
am
very
really high
impressed
on
when you
off
talked
ball
about him.
players.
You seemed like
Smart.
you were when you talked about it.
I mean, he's still a top 14 player ever. It's not like he's terrible. Like you can't like if you're gonna do a whole review of these players, there are gonna be. I think his big ward for me is his finishing, and I think that is a very big issue for me. But maybe I should consider him more of a two-way player. And then I said his peak is higher than KD and Magic, so he could have been higher. I also think the longevity maybe should be higher than Magic. Maybe should be 10. I don't know. But then I think it's tough for me with him, but I do think his peak is higher than Kobe's. But again, I also think Kobe had a bit more years to give because Bird also misses the year with the back, and it's tough. Maybe I should have Bird higher when I think
Not
about
gonna
it. I don't
lie,
know.
I would have. I'm gonna be honest with you because this is when we are making a list in 2 hours. This could happen. I threw in the honorable mention because I was like, damn, I forgot about Bird. Because I'm honestly when before that whole Larry Bird episode, I I was watching Bird, but at the same time, I wanted to go. So before that, I went back and watched him more. I watched a good amount of his career a little more, and I thought about, I was like, the guy, again, his longevity isn't the best, but since day one was elite.
Yeah, that is
Like
actually
that's what
no.
moved me. And then I thought about, I was like, he just, yeah, the contact sometimes, like especially in the playoffs, kind of led to inefficient scoring later on, but then he fixed that up very easily, very quick. And even then, his regular seasons were still like all time regular seasons, to the point where Larry Bird, he might be in, not even might, but I think I'm a little bit on the mirror side where I can see me putting him at 10-9.
I
I
I
think I can
I
see
think
that.
I am convinced that probably he is 10 because he was so good from like the start. It's not like with Magic where the first 4 year I think is kind of mid, not mid, but like not all time great is what I'm trying to say. Whereas with Bird it was like day one, like we're talking about like a top five player in the league.
I also didn't realize how good his passing was.
Yeah.
That passing,
So he is
Jok-
he is my number 10 now. I'll give you that. I can't
Jokic,
I don't
Jokic Bird's a conversation. I'll put that out real quick. I think that might be a
easy this
combo.
conversation.
Jokic Bird as a passer might be a combo to me. That's how excited
No,
I
maybe,
was.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm
Maybe
going
yeah,
overboard, but I think that's maybe a
maybe,
conversation I'm going to hear out.
maybe. But I think I still got Bird because Bird is just as a high. I mean, Jokic has an insanely high IQ, of course, but I just when I watched Bird more, I felt like at his time he was a connective player in the way that Bird is, but he only had one touch. He didn't have as many chances because there was no spacing. So if he couldn't get the ball, if he couldn't make that move on the first touch, he wouldn't be able to like pass back and then get the ball back the way Jokic does. Jokic like tries to make the assist. If he doesn't get it, he passes it again and then make like moves out and gets it again. But I think like Larry Bird did not have that advantage, and he still like he was very efficient with that one touch. He would do it very quickly too. So I think like I just think he wasn't a high usage player, even though his numbers say so. But I don't think he's a high usage player at all. When I watched him, I felt like he was playing within the flow, and then he would finish the game with like a 30-point triple double. That's crazy to me. So I think he's very high value. Like everything I think of Jokic, I think of Bird, but higher. And I'm high on Jokic. I said Jokic is like number 13 or 14, maybe 15 in my list. I don't know. I don't have that list yet, but I think he's top 15. So Bird is just a better version in the way that LeBron is a better version of Magic, for example, or that Jordan is a better version of Kobe. So to me, Bird is just him. He's very similar to Jokic. Though. I mean, the only difference is the way they score, because Jokic is a way better finisher and he's a better jump shooter. But as like high IQ players who make the move very quickly, they're similar in that regard, in their playmaking at least. So now we can go to number 7. Oh my god. No, I keep mine to left because we're not
My
talking about
my
his
number
team.
7 is the guy we have talked about a lot. That is Steph.
Mm.
Um, Steph. I think the reason I have Steph over Bird and Magic and Kobe, I think it is just I like that offensive engine that he is of just how much he forces defense to adjust to him, and the offense that drives is so insane to me. And like just the numbers with the Warriors have always been crazy. Like how his impact have always been insane, even with KD. Like they fell off a cliff without him, and some of that is because he also plays with Draymond a lot. So those two going out together was a lot of what they built their system on. But I just think Steph is just this driver of amazing offense. But even when he played on less great teams in 2021, they're amazing. Like the only reason they didn't make the playoffs and had to be in the play and didn't make the playoffs is because they had to integrate James Wiseman. And when he didn't play, they were playing at like a 60-win pace. So and they didn't have that much offensive talent. And in 2022, he probably offers his masterpiece in the 2022 finals, where
Yeah.
like he's playing a defense with the defensive player of the year, a switch big in Al Horford, an amazing rim protector in Robert Williams, two great wings in Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum and Derek White, and he still forced him to bend
And
his knees.
fried them.
He fried them. The only reason his numbers is not more impressive. He has one game where he went 0 for 8 from 3, and they still won that game because he like at that point he had forced them to put two on the ball. Like he was so good in that series. That to me is probably like a top 5 finals ever, and
Yeah,
that was
that series
masterpiece.
probably why teams are still doubling him at half court right now because the Celtics tried to be like, you know what, let's try to play him different from all the other teams. Let's try to single cover him. We got great wing defenders, you know. Let's do it the way we did with Kyrie, for example. And
They got fried.
what
They forget
like
he's also
that's
elite
what happens
isolation
when you
scorer
give
too. So
Steph one-on-one opportunities. That's what happens. Don't do it ever again. Like this is like an ad, you know, the WWE ad. Don't try this at home. This is exactly what
now
this was.
I got a question for both of y'all. So this is something I thought about. Do y'all think the at that time, especially 2022, where the Warriors, well, not the Warriors, where the league in general had was very up on it, let's correct a new Paul George, LeBron, big wing defenders who could do everything, right? Do you think Steph Curry, just his positional size in general, gave him so much more of an advantage because he's getting through angles, getting through slips that other players can't get to because he's just smaller, he's faster, he's
I
elite on the ball, his handle's elite, he can still pass, and he's not some 6'7", 6'6", 6'5" guard or wing who's trying to make pass, play, make, dribble through traffic, especially when
Wouldn't that be a disadvantage though?
Celtics.
I think he's saying
It's a
because
disadvantage if it's a disadvantage, but I think the ability to also keep the ball low and secure is also another advantage in itself, and that's the Steph did really good at as well. I think being
I,
able to make sure the possession's yours, and you're not trying to be a 6'8" guy with these long strides dribbling the ball, especially someone like Cade Cunningham, where it's hard for me to navigate through all this defense.
I don't think
I
I
think
disagree.
that's kind of
I think this advantage is more in like 2016 where teams were still playing two bigs. I think that there's two guys on this list that made the whole league change. One of them was Shaq. That made we're gonna talk about. That made everyone play bigs that could foul him. The other one was Steph, and Steph was like made everyone stop playing two bigs. So I think when like in 15, 16, still 17, when people were still playing two bigs against Steph Curry, like you just saw how much like the Grizzlies just got exposed on both ends. On offense, they just put Draymond and Tony Allen, and their offense was dead. And on defense, they just kept involving Randolph and Gasol and made it like you can't play two bigs. You can't have two guys that can't go and switch out. You have to have smaller, more mobile forwards. He changed the game forever with that. Like he was such an advantage mismatch in that 15, 16, 17 that just broke the game. And that's probably like his peak is insanely high to me. He had like, and I think that's also why I have him so high. Like having seventh is because I think he has the best peak of anyone we've talked about, anyone that's been on a list so far. I'll say that.
I don't know how to rate his peak. But when it comes to players that are more impact than production, to me these players are very difficult to rank in terms of peak. But I'm high on him regardless of where his peak is. I think I mean, to Grill's point, I think I feel about it is the opposite. If you got a guy who looks like your friend from the grocery store, and he's making these guys, these 6'7", 6'8" bodybuilders, look like school children, there's something satisfying about that. I think it's not I think it's not an advantage. I think it's a disadvantage. That's why I actually that makes me even higher on him, because he's playing in an era where you need to have the ball to be efficient, and he's still fighting the tide, playing old school basketball in a way. I mean, not mathematically because he's shooting threes, but he's playing the way older stars did in terms of playing through a complicated scheme rather than just space the floor, give me the ball at the top of the key, and I'll cook. Like he's playing an old school system, because the Steve Kerr system, in my opinion, is like a hybrid between the triangle and the Greg Popovich system. So he's playing an emotion offense, and he's still like fighting that tide and being that great. And that to me is a disadvantage in terms of how you're perceived around the league. He needed every shot he took to be there. And
he went 50, 40, 90, and like 50% of his shots were threes.
And he's shooting over defense. Like he's shooting.
He shot like 50. He's like 45.
He has a Kobe shot selection, and he's doing that.
Wasn't there a season where he made like somewhere around like 350 threes in the season? I think
he made 400 threes in 2016.
Yeah. Goodness. Oh,
he shot like half his shots was from the 3-point line, and he was still 50% from the field because he shot 45% of those threes. I mean, oh my god! Just to talk about a little bit about what makes him this good is obviously the shooting is the best we have ever seen by far. Like the 3-point shooting, the ability to quick release, the ability to get it off at any angle, running off screens, doing it off the dribble. His handle is one of the best we've ever seen. The ability to when he get the big on him, just create space for that three, or even drive by him, which as he got later on added the strength after like the 2016 finals, he added the strength. I think he went more to the rim. We saw that in 2023, especially when they played the Kings, and Sabonis that was the rim protector, and he just went to the rim every time. I also think his conditioning, like I think when you say if someone said Steph Curry's an all-time great athlete, I would listen because his conditioning is all-time great. Like the way he could just run off screens continuously, like that's amazing.
Yeah, stamina to me is the most impressive athletic trait. It's not like I don't see jumping. I don't know why Americans specifically are obsessed with jumping. Is it a thing in like where you are, Hjalmer, in Denmark? Like when people say the word athletic, when people say the word athletic, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Athletic. I don't think people say that much here. I think if they talk about
like
soccer,
the Danish word for it. I mean, because the Arabic word for it, the first thing that comes to mind is stamina and endurance, not jumping at all. Like
I think about someone running in track. That's what.
Yeah, for me, it's run fast stamina. That's like jumping was like that tier that puts you above it. But for me, it was run fast, being able to endure how fast you can go, and be able to stop whenever you can get wherever you want to stop. That was athletic for me. At least.
Yeah, I think
Only,
stamina and
People are thinking
explosiveness.
Mbappe is really athletic.
only because
Stamina
I
and
was a track
explosiveness.
soccer player, so that's kind
Yeah.
of what I based it off from a
Yeah.
lot of the time.
Yeah, I think in terms of stamina, he has one of the highest. Him, Michael Jordan, like Kobe, maybe not. I mean, Kobe's less than them, but Michael
LeBron
Jordan.
had an amazing stamina.
Yeah, LeBron can play five
K
overtime.
oh KG.
KG, of course. KG is insane. He plays at a very high motor all the time. Josh Hart. Shout out
He
to
played
Josh
like
Hart.
40, he
Is
played like
is
45 minutes.
I
We'll
have
get
is
to
to
that.
Jokic's stamina underrated? When I think about it.
Yeah, we
I
will
think
get
I
to
think
Josh Hart when we arrive at where I have him, so we'll get to Josh Hart.
When you got Josh
okay.
Hart, oh
Okay,
gosh. Like,
Jason, brilliant. Who was your number 7?
Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan. Is he higher on your list,
Oh,
Amir?
okay. Actually, I was gonna say that 6 and 7 are interchangeable for me. But I do have Tim Duncan at 6, so
Okay.
I decided on that. That's the last one I decided on. Tim
Okay.
Duncan
Who
at
is your
6.
number 7? Because you've been teasing us way too much.
Yeah, it should have been Timmy, but I valued the thing about who I'd rather have on my team over basketball because number 7 is a better basketball player than Tim
Oh, wait,
Duncan.
can I
He's even a
try to
better
guess before
basketball.
you say it?
Yeah.
Is it LeBron?
No, number 7
Okay,
is
good.
not LeBron.
Amir's not that crazy. He's not
Good.
crazy though.
I mean, LeBron's placement is still crazy, but I mean, number 7 to me is Kareem. He's the okay. Let me first start with this. He's the third best basketball player ever, in my opinion. But he's number 7 on my list, and the reasons for that we'll get to when you guys name him because
Yeah,
of
because
the
I
rule
have
I
him
stated.
higher. Yeah.
So yeah, of course, both of you have him higher, and I should have had him higher. But yeah, here is where we're at. So I guess that means we're done with number 7 because we talked
So
about
we can just go straight into your number. Your number 6 is obviously Tim Duncan. So
Tim
let's.
Duncan. Yeah, Tim Duncan. And since I'm the highest on him, uh, I'll talk about him more now. Tim Duncan to me is the best defender I've ever seen. That's number one. Bill Russell is the best because of impact, but I didn't watch him enough. I mean, some clips here and there, but Tim Duncan is the best defender since the merger, in my opinion. And the reason for that is just consistency and uh, how little he takes plays off. I've mentioned before how I'm not that high on offensive players in terms of defense. I think on the chat, I'm not that high on like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. Their defense to me is not the reason I'm high on them as players. But Tim Duncan is. I don't think he's that good offensively, quite frankly, even KG as well. Their efficiency is lower than people make it out to be. And their consistency is also lower than people make it out to be compared to like
Him and
Anthony
Kobe have
Davis,
the
who
exact
people
same true
fried
shooting
in
percentage,
offense. Uh,
by the way.
what?
Him and Kobe have the exact same true shooting percentage. And Tim Duncan plays
Uh,
like a
yeah,
45,
but at
which,
their peak, I think Kobe had higher even. But I mean, still, like,
yeah,
it's
maybe.
only slightly higher. Yeah. But like, if you're a center and your true shooting is that low, that's an indicator of your limited offense. Same thing with KG as well. His offense was also limited and inconsistent. Like both of them were very inconsistent. That's I always mentioned them in that regard when I was trying to defend Anthony Davis back in like 2023. That people were calling him inconsistent in offense, and I was like, if these guys are all-time great players, then why can't he be? But anyway, back to Tim Duncan. His defense to me is just so transcendent. He like you cannot build a system for 15 years around a specific trait of a player without that trait being transcended. That's as valuable as Steph's shooting.
You're thinking on
And
defense?
the fact that yeah, his defense as like an anchor. He was a defensive anchor. His ability to read the way the play was going. Because to me, as a defender, you're either defending the ball or you're defending the space. being able to defend the space that much, like being able to see where the play is going and be the first line of defense behind the ball handler while being a rim protector, because he was a rim protector. He wasn't in the middle. He wasn't like a roamer, like a Draymond Green or and Bam Adebayo. He was back then, but I mean back there. But at the same time, he was usually the first player behind the defender, the on ball defender, and he was so quick to react that he didn't make you feel like it. He made you feel like he's just at the rim. But if you watch him more, you'll realize that the slashers struggle so much against his team, except for Kobe. Most slashers are like LeBron had his worst series against Tim Duncan, and even regular season wise, he would struggle a bit against Tim Duncan, even at an older age. LeBron in the first like 5 games of the 2023, I mean the 2013 finals, was struggling to get to the rim, and he only started turning things around when his shot was falling from the outside. He could not make it a good series at the rim because of Tim Duncan, and we're talking about 35-year-old Tim Duncan. Now imagine like younger Tim Duncan. He was so valuable on defense. The things he prevented from happening before they happened are why people would probably be higher on KG, because he showed you when he was preventing it. Tim Duncan was just preventing it from happening before it happened. Kind of like Draymond Green, but like I said, in a different way. So I think that prevention defense from Tim Duncan is so transcendent. I've never seen anything like it. Like any series altering, like team altering aspect of defense like that. He's so like, yeah, Wemby's getting close to that now, but uh before Wemby it was just he was the standard to me of what like a game altering or a series altering defender is. And that's why I'm so high on him. And of course, the 03 run is crazy, but I mean, I don't really bank on one run, like single runs like that. That's why I don't have Kim in the top 10 anyway. So like,
So
I'm not a one
I,
run guy. Let's just say that.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I think a lot of people are low on Tim Duncan's defense. I think that's maybe why he didn't win so many didn't win Defensive Player of the Year. Is because he didn't block that many shots, but he just contested so many shots.
He didn't even need to. Like,
no,
he prevented it from
he
being
did shut
shot.
down threats before they happened. I definitely agree with that. I do think as he got old, like young Tim Duncan's feet could move. I think people think of like old Tim Duncan, his feet could never move. Like younger Tim Duncan, Ox talks about this a lot. His feet could move. Like he would slide. He could even go on the break a little bit with the what's a running transition with the, as a ball in a little bit. I do think there are some defensive weaknesses that maybe a KG didn't have in terms of being able to slide. He didn't have that insane versatility, but he was maybe a little bit better as a rim protector because he couldn't get dislodged from his position because he was stronger in his lower body. So I do think that made him a better rim protector. I do see that he snuffed out threats before they happen, but I am also low on the offense. That's probably why he's 9 to me and not 6. It's because I am low on the offense and the scoring efficiency. And when also a thing is when Manu and Tony hit their stride around 05, they didn't play as much through Tim Duncan. They were running much more pick and roll. Against the Pistons, they run a lot of like pick and roll with Manu. Manu is probably their best offensive player from like 05 and on. So who's that?
I mean, 07 Tony Parker is nasty, so it's just.
You can say that, yeah, maybe.
Even and
But the point
2020,
is,
I
it
mean
wasn't
2013 Tony Parker is very underrated. Let me just say
I
that.
think there you can say
Anyone who I think people need to go back and watch that Grizzlies series after watching what they did to KD. Watch what the Grizzlies did to KD in 20 was it 13 or 14 when they got
13.
knocked out?
13.
Watch what Tony Parker did to them, and you'll know who Tony Parker was as a player.
I think Jeremiah was like that, like nothing there. But they go more spread pick and roll, play less through Tim Duncan. I do think Tim Duncan was a good passer, nothing there. I do think KG is a different tier passer, in my opinion. I do think his mid range, because he had that bank shot and that just became his embodiment. I do think that gets overrated a bit, his mid range shooting. So I do think I agree with a lot of on the defense. I don't think he's the best defender I've ever seen. I have a couple of guys above him, but I I do agree with a lot of what you said. Do you
Yeah,
have
just
anything more?
one more thing about him and
Mhm.
KG. The reason I think he's a better defender than KG is that he was more consistent. Like KG would probably have like 3 minutes of you're not getting anything at all, and then he would take a small break, and then he would be back. Tim Duncan was very quiet about it because of his motor wasn't so high, but he did not take a single playoff. Even older Tim Duncan did not take a single playoff. His impact remained there. I don't know if he did it like consciously, but his impact was there. The way like you talked about Steph and his impact on the court. Tim Duncan's impact was there. KG not so much because he had to actually do well. If he was a little bit out of
Okay,
energy
I
or
think Jay Grillionaire, are you
yeah,
there?
Yeah.
Who's your number six?
We already talked about him, so we can move on after this when it comes to my number six. I got Kobe. Kobe's number six to me.
yeah, I got
And
him higher.
notice there's still a name I haven't said, but Kobe's number
We'll
six
get
to
to
me.
when we get to that. But my number six is Hakeem. If
Oh, that's so high. I didn't expect that.
does
Okay,
no
go
one
on.
here, does none of you had both had him as an honorable mention, right?
I had him
He's
at
not
11. Yeah, an honorable
he's not
mention.
on my
Him and
list. No.
him and KG
Yeah.
were 11 and 12. Yeah.
To me, I think he's probably the best defender since the merger, and I think what drives it for me for him is that his rim protection was unbelievable. Like he used to play like he picked up basketball at 16. That means he played volleyball, soccer as a goalkeeper, and handball. And I think you can see that when he plays because his
Wait,
ability to
he
track the
played as
ball in
a
the air.
goalkeeper and he didn't continue? That's great.
Yeah, he was amazing at tracking the ball. Like his success rates on blocked attempts was amazing. The quick jumping style you get from volleyball was also there, where he wouldn't jump on the first goal. He would jump when you jumped. His ability to time that up, I think this rim protection was next to none. From 86 to 94, I'm going to steal this from thinking basketball. He blocked more than 5 shots in a game. 35% of his playoff games. He blocked more than
Um,
five or more shots.
That's
In the
insane.
last 2 years of that, like 93 and 94, he blocked 5 shots
allegedly,
more.
allegedly, shout out Johnny Arnett because he also had a video about like similar to the Michael Jordan stat padding. I mean stat tracking. There was something about Hakeem's stat tracking as well, but anyway, we're not gonna slander him now.
I
So
can't I can't
Yeah.
wait for Wemby to pass up that record. But
Oh yeah,
but
Wemby's. I said this in the group. Wemby is gonna win the block title every year he plays more than like 40 games. He
well,
played 42 last year and still got it.
I think one thing that's underrated about Hakeem is that because one this actually goes to his benefit. He was so good as a rim protector at 6'9", 6'10". Him switching out, well, him getting out on perimeter was still elite.
He
Like,
would definitely do that.
it was still elite, which is insane to me. And so my biggest problem was with Akeem was obviously the passing. I think the passing is probably the worst thing in this kid. I think my problem is when he's one of those players where you look back on it, his defense when he became a better scorer he went from being okay, maybe he's the best defender ever to maybe I'm a top center defender ever. I think that's a big jump off from when you actually become a way better scorer. Obviously, it's still elite, but that's an elite impact. But I think that's one thing that should be highlighted as well.
Obviously one of the most talked about things is his post work, and he was a really good like scorer. Like he was not just commanding layups every time, but he was really good as a post scorer. And I do think that gave him kind of a floor in his scoring a little bit of the way with Kobe and KD we talked about, where he could take tough shots, mid range shots. It was very hard to take away. And they obviously played this kind of a new way where they played full out and then with the Hakeem in the post. And he got really good at reading that in their championship years. So
Yeah,
I do think that, along with his defense, just made him like an all-time great floor racer because the offense floor is going to be set by my scoring, obviously, but then also the defense gets a really high floor because I'm that good of a rim protector, and also yeah,
yeah,
he could switch out. He was really mobile.
yeah.
He's a
I
good
agree
post.
with that.
Like
Yeah, he has one of the highest peaks of all time,
yeah,
obviously, and I think one of the
that was
things about
really
him that could be very unique to him, is that he was the best offensive player in the league and the best defensive player in the league, probably at the same, like arguably. I mean, 94, you could say he was the best at both, like number one on offense and number one on defense. You could make that argument.
the other one
Uh,
would have to be like Charles Barkley on offense, probably. David
well,
Robinson was also up there.
yeah, I
You
mean,
could argue.
arguably, I said arguably because no one did it definitely. I think the only one you could say did it was Shaq in 2000.
Yeah,
He was, yeah, we'll get to Shaq for
Kareem in
sure.
the '70s and Braun in '13 is like
I'm not that high on LeBron's defense, but anyway, we'll get to LeBron and Shaq. Let's one last thing about Hakeem. Hakeem is that first of all, his name is Hakeem. I don't know why I'm the one who keeps saying it wrong. But anyway, so his scoring, to me, one of the valuable things about it is how much he would exhaust his opponent. When you keep moving around like that, that's so frustrating. I think that the psychological aspect of it matters. It was so frustrating to play against. You could see it on his opponent's eyes. When you play that good of a defense and then you give up such a shot because the other player is just toying with you, it's frustrating, especially when you're playing against elite players. Like he was doing that against David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Shaq. These guys are great defenders, but against him, they didn't look so good because
Well,
of what he did to them.
I don't think people were just. I think one thing that also made him really good in the post is that I don't think humans were meant to move that fluently against someone who's turning and twisting that much. I don't think
he
you're.
was six
I don't
seven.
think you were meant to, because you saw this a lot of time. Hakeem, what he was great at faking the on shot a lot. He was really good at doing that. And
Yeah,
some players just, yeah, you had David Robinsons, the Kimbays, where their first and second jump was elite. His second jump won't be so elite. You jump once, you're probably cooked at that point. You're done. That's probably a bucket for him, and that's too dangerous. That I think in the post to do for anyone to deal with, really.
yeah. And the fake only works when you're so good at the thing you're faking. I think people don't talk about that enough.
Yeah,
Like it's easy to say, "Oh, why are they jumping? Why are they making rookie mistakes?" It's because he doesn't fake all the time. If you let him shoot uncontested, or like don't jump, because he was also like he had arm length. If you let him shoot without faking, if he's not faking, he's making that shot, and you need to jump to contest a player like that. So I think it's very difficult to play a player with that much move, like that much like offensive moves. It's like his offensive moves were like his counters were crazy. That's so entertaining to watch it, and the psychological aspect of it. You see it. This is one thing I value when I hear like basketball players talk. I think yeah, it's easy to dismiss basketball players when they talk because sometimes they say dumb stuff, but we have to listen to them on the stuff that actually affected how they played. If this guy is telling you that this guy is making players play worse because of the psychological aspect of it, he's cooking them so hard that he's making them doubt themselves. I think we should listen to them when they say that.
Yeah.
Guys like Steph, Kobe, Hakeem, these guys, we should listen to them when they say that. So yeah.
I
So
just
let's get to number 5. I would
Oh
say.
my God. Yeah.
can I
Go
go
ahead.
first?
Yeah.
Go
I,
for it.
this is when I finally have Mr. Kevin Garnett. This is what he's eating. This is what we got. No, I can say I want to say. I'll let you guys cook on the Kevin Garnett stuff. I want to say my comments for this moment right here.
I didn't know he's that high. Oh my god. Someone has KG at 5. Okay.
Kevin Garnett, to me, he has one of the. I'm not gonna put a number on it because honestly, like I gotta think about that a little more. But how many? If you can think about how many players really have had have the two-way impact, someone whose defense and scoring is equally as good as he has, and they're both being elite, as Kevin Garnett, I don't think I'm naming more than. I think I'm going Shaq, and I think I stop. I'll be honest with you. I think I stop at Shaq when I say the guy. I think to me he's probably one of the versatile defenders of all time. I think his versatility was beyond next level. I think we didn't talk about his passing enough. I think his passing, even though there'd be times where there are times where he'd be slow at the passing, but like I said, he's so good at jump passing, sometimes it didn't matter. Sometimes he would just get the pass off anyway because he was that good at throwing at certain angles where it would get cut off. You would think that, hey, we loaded up on KG. Oh, we cut off this passing angle. It was like, oh no, I jumped because I'm 7'1" and I have long arms. I jumped now. I just made the pass anyway. Nothing you can do about it. The fact that the guy was not spacing the typical way of threes, but spacing in a way where he was really good at making them long range, mid ranges. I think that was also very valuable. I think the fact that he wasn't Tim Duncan on the post, but he was still elite on the post. I think how many counters he had for most teams, and I think it gets undervalued because we expect a guy like Kevin Garnett to have the most motor on the team for defensive wise, and then have the most motor on the team offensively. And I don't think there's any player who can do that, who can carry that burden by themselves like that. And I think when you saw him putting it together in these games where, to me, he looked like the best offensive player and defensive player in the floor compared to multiple different guys, I haven't seen many things like that. And his longevity also doesn't get talked about enough as well, because talk about Tim Duncan's defensive longevity. Even with the Brooklyn Nets, he was still elite defensively. Like, we don't talk about that. Obviously, offensively, he fell off, and then we have to say that Paul Pierce was better than him in the Celtics years, but I don't think Paul Pierce was even better offensively than the Celtics years. I think offensively, he was still a much better passer. I think, obviously, the motor on offense wasn't the same. I don't think he could have gotten to certain spots he used to because he was athletically declined a little bit, but I think he was just a master of all those things. I think my only flaw for Kevin Garnett is something that Tim Duncan was really good at, and this can get talked about enough sometimes when it comes to these two. I think Tim Duncan was a better floor general than Tim Duncan. I'm not the other way around. I think Tim Duncan was way better at being a floor general than Kevin Garnett ever was. But I think Kevin Garnett was also so much better at. I think personally he peaked higher than Tim Duncan, especially in 04. So I think his basketball ability, this is when impact and basketball ability goes hand in hand. I think to myself, at some point, me being a better basketball player than you has to mean something. More than, okay, this guy may be more impactful, but maybe he's more impactful because maybe he's getting situations where a team's more inclined for him, or he's in a system where the team's more impactful for him, so he looks more impactful. But I got better basketball ability than you, so I can maybe be more impactful than you. I think Kevin Garnett is the standard of that compared to someone like Tim Duncan, who on many teams seem more impactful than Kevin Garnett.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I have him so high, because I can't imagine Kevin Garnett lower than some of these guys as a basketball player.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot disagree with anything you said. I'm glad that this episode has so much KG love because he doesn't get talked about enough. And I still have something to say about it. I actually think one of the things that, since I'm the oldest one here, I gotta tell you guys this. When I was young, when played my first basketball video game, KG was the highest rated player by actually by like a big difference. It was '05, like NBA Live '05. KG was a 97, and the next player was Kobe at 94. So that's a 3 point there. I know like NBA like game ratings don't matter much, but he was viewed that way when he played, is what I'm trying to say. It's just that after their careers are over, people look at 5 championships and 1 championship and they're like, yeah, that's a difference. But when they played in the mid 2000s, it was not just a conversation, it was a conversation that actually leaned towards Kevin Garnett more often than not, because people didn't like Tim Duncan that much when he played, quite frankly. Kevin Garnett was more more valued and more popular, and he was getting that love. But at some point, it switched, and then it went all the way. Uh, he was the highest rated player in like 4 consecutive video games for a reason. He was viewed as arguably the best player in the league for an extended period of time, and people forgot about that. People now make it like Kobe versus Duncan. It was Kobe versus Duncan versus Kevin Garnett, and yeah. So yeah, I mean, his offense to me is, it looks pretty because he has so many things, but it doesn't amount to much because I didn't see him with a good enough team to make it look like enough. I don't know what he would look like if he had an actual team that just needed him to raise the ceiling rather than the floor.
That's why he's so hard to judge. I think for most
Yeah,
people.
It's
I
a
don't
lot
know
of
because his
technical
shot
stuff.
making ability was not. I didn't feel it like he missed too many shots to me at the rim, especially.
Yeah, I'll say I agree with almost everything said here. I think I would just want to add some context to it. I do think one thing you said, it was earlier about Tim Duncan. You said he sniffed out threats before it even happened. I think KG did that as good as anyone. Like he was so
In the
active
Celtics, yeah, in the
off
Celtics,
the ball. Like even with the Timberwolves, he was so active off the ball. He was just this energy bouncer, just bouncing around, like getting cutters for threats. He was like he would even like with his guard when wrong on a zone, and he ended up switching out to Kobe. I think it was Kobe or some
yeah,
other star guard, and they just wouldn't attack him because guards couldn't attack KG. Don't get it twisted. Like people would not try KG even if they were point guards, Allen Iverson's, Kobe's, shooting guards. Like if you're not Shaquille O'Neal, you're not attacking Kevin
Because
Garnett.
you're gonna get locked up.
Yes,
That's
sir.
just what it was.
He
I mean,
was, and also on offense, I think I wanted to say he did so many things well in a basketball game, and I think that's what just fits with these great players. And it's
yeah,
very unfortunate that it has to be a hypothetical because the Timberwolves sucked. But like he was a great offensive rebounder, great
even
defense,
mentally,
great passer,
talking,
great pass
trash
out the
talking.
post, short roll. He was a good finisher, not an amazing one. I'll give you that because of the strength. He didn't go through arms. I will also say that this is also a point in his favor. He had that energy, and he played 45 minutes a game in the playoffs.
Yeah,
With that energy, being tasked with carrying the team's offense, he's playing 45 minutes. That's insane. And that's why sometimes in fourth quarters he would not fizzle out. There's just no energy left because he had to play the whole fucking game. Like,
yeah, it's
of
true.
course that happens. I am so high on KG.
He's also a very fluent athlete. It was
He was
not.
an
It was.
amazing.
It was very rare to see an athlete that fluent with his body movement while being that strong. That was not very common, and
I,
I think that very much helped him as well.
one more thing, his decision making with the ball was so accurate. I don't think I've ever
Yes.
seen any
He
player
was so
that you could just make any young player even today watch KG, and that's all the film you need. The way he looks, even though he's playing with so much energy and so high, like his motor is so high, that tends to make you make stupid decisions. I mean, we've seen Westbrook, we've seen players who play at a very high motor, they end up playing worse than they should be. Because I mean, Westbrook when he plays slowly is a very smart player. He's just when he plays fast, he makes these stupid mistakes. KG played fast and he was still very accurate. Uh, Even like Kobe when he played slowly was so smart, but again, like when he tried to run through people, he was making mistakes. T Mac, same thing. KG was always alert. He didn't make a mistake. Like he was always, even with the Nets as a role player, he was one of the best role players in the league. I think he was always valuable,
What
at whichever part of the game he's doing, like setting screens, spotting up, whatever he was doing, he was doing. The only knock on his game, I would say, is when he switched to center. I'm not a fan of that at all. I don't know why Doc Rivers did it. I'm still salty at Doc Rivers for doing it. That was stupid. Maybe he was trying to follow the trend of the league of going small. I didn't like that. His rebounding became worse, and the team went from one of the best rebounding teams in the league to a team that rebounding became a weakness. And that to me is something that I look at KG as a player and like, okay, that's a weakness.
I don't
Because
think
he was big
I
able
do
to
think
play
you could
center.
play
He
five
just
at
didn't
five.
do it that
I
well.
I
It
think
wasn't
you need
precise.
to do it the right way. Obviously, I don't think you can just do it. They did also do it in Minnesota at some points, and it kind of worked. But I will also say just one last thing here is that his mid range, like his not even mid range, like his outside shooting of like the long twos, like he was shooting better than Dirk Nowitzki in his like 03 and 04. He was shooting like I think it was 4 percentage points beyond league average or something, if I remember correctly. He's one of the best mid range shooters ever.
Yeah,
Not
it was
Yeah.
like
great. It was great at
not
that.
because he didn't take that many in the way that Kobe and KD did, or Dirk. He's not better than Dirk in the mid range. I will not
I
say
think he
that.
only took threes 1 year and he made them at a good enough rate, but he
Yeah.
just stopped shooting. I don't
Bro,
remember which.
I'm just thinking about yo, like I hate the Timberwolves back in '04, bro.
I
Like,
hate them so much.
you don't understand how mad it makes me when I'm thinking about the guy you have on your team can be your offensive number one and defensive number one while being your best playmaker, and you
And they
didn't do what you have to do to get
and
that
they
guy a good team. Come
and
on.
they blow up the whole team for Joey Smith. 10 years after he got
And then you
drafted, and
didn't give his
I,
running mate the
I,
money he needed to become good. I don't get it. I don't understand.
it's the biggest disservice that's ever been done to at basketball. Is KG was on trash teams. It's so because that's the dude. You know how I feel about Isaiah Thomas. This obviously pisses me off. But I have people advance arguments that Isaiah Thomas is better than Kevin Garnett. Those two people should have even been in the same universe.
I'm gonna be
Like
honest
there
with
should be
you.
one hall of the Hall of Fame for him and one for Isaiah Thomas.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The only thing Isaiah does better than KG is dribble the basketball.
He
just
might
saying.
not even do. Yeah, he does that better.
no, come on.
Yeah. Isaiah got it because the handles, but
For his
passing,
size,
passing, KG's definitely better than Isaiah for passing.
I mean, let's not. That's not a conversation. Let's move on. That's
we
not.
can move on.
We're
Okay.
Okay,
not.
my number 5. My point was KG is in disgusting conversations. He should have never
Yeah,
been.
no. I mean, like, we're not gonna have a conversation
In
between
that
Isaiah
PC
and
video, people were actually mad because KG was getting compared to Kevin Durant. And every single time, every time. So this happened 3 times actually. The first time was when way back when I first discovered PC, back in the J Will show. And they were talking about KG versus Tim Duncan and Dirk Nowitzki. They had KG underneath Dirk Nowitzki. I couldn't believe it. I ain't gonna lie. I almost stopped watching PC right then because that actually pissed me off. That same time. Then
I'm not.
the second
Yeah,
time,
I'm not that high on Dirk. I mean,
the second time, the top 25 players peak stream when I thought to myself, I so clearly have KG above Jokic, Giannis, and Kevin Durant as a peak. To me, I just thought it was clear. So when the video kept going on about them arguing about it, the next thing I know, Jokic is over at KG. I turned the video off. like I didn't even finish that. I don't know what happened the first that video. That's to this day. I turned the video off.
Shout out to Ron, man.
Yeah, we don't. I also just hate how any KG conversation with Tim Duncan just gets shut down because of accolades. It's so annoying. Like
I hate it more when it's Giannis, not gonna lie, because at least with Tim Duncan, it's the accolades. Like you get people who are like obsessed with accolades, but when it's Giannis, that's what pisses me off. I'm not like
people that say Giannis is better than KG and they don't want to listen to it.
Yeah,
They're
Giannis is gonna be another player though that he's in the back end of KG. Like KG started off with this. Giannis is gonna end off with this, being with an incompetent franchise that won't get him anything good. And then while he's playing, maybe he's in the best ball ever.
I'm also putting a little bit on Giannis because they have said if he says he wants to leave, we'll trade him.
Oh yeah, obviously.
A little bit on him as well. That's not as much.
He was the one he was getting injured. It's not their fault.
It's not the same thing, but I'm saying like guy plays amazing, incompetent roster, incompetent back office.
It's not their fault. He keeps getting injured every time they.
Let's move to the other number fives.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Okay, you go first. You need to go first.
Mine is Kareem.
Okay. I think
I just switched that, by the way, when you talked.
Jason has Kareem higher, right?
I got Kareem. Yep, I'm higher.
Who's your number?
Okay. And my number 5 is also, I know both of you have him higher, so I'll just say him now. It's LeBron James.
Yeah,
okay,
he's higher. Don't worry.
Yeah. He's a little higher than that.
Okay.
So you can. You want me to say number 4, or
we can talk about number 4 now.
Okay, because
I love how I just said LeBron is number 5, and let's move on to
Kareem's my 4. So
okay, that's the highest one of us has him, so you should go.
All right, Kareem. I think those better player were actually even more, just like we talked about with Bird, came in the league. Probably came in the league elite, but instead of elite, he was the best player in the world. Mm-hmm. Came in the league and probably was the best defender in the world at that point.
Yeah, he's one of those that could be the best offensive.
So someone who was way better, someone who was such a good defender that doesn't get talked about enough. I think the main reason is obviously you watch his Laker years, he's transition defense, and like the later parts of Buck years, his transition defense was terrible. Not terrible, but it was lackluster. But I think that Kareem definitely does get underrated in his defense. I think personally he's one of the best. He's one of the 10 best defenders of all time to me. I think that's how high I am on his defense. I think his offensive game, while it not peaking at the same time as his defensive game, I think his offensive game was still elite. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that you have a shot no one can stop is still elite. I don't care about if he couldn't shoot the 3. I don't care about that. I think the fact that he was unstoppable in the post was elite. And the fact that later on he can actually pass outside the post wasn't amazing, but he did something with it. And one thing that Kareem also, I'll say, did really well in the 70s, and this is something that Bill Russell and any rim protector at their caliber kind of benefited of, because there's no 3-point line. You have to get to the paint probably. And being able to take away that easy shot, the shot most people go to, is something that was extremely valuable, which makes, in my opinion, his defense a lot more valuable than most people's in a lot of errors.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this much to say about Kareem that already hasn't been said that we don't already know. So I can't say that he's underrated. So how much you have for?
I agree with all you said. I just want to add, because I had him at 5, so we're pretty much the same here. I just wanted to say, I do think the one thing you didn't mention is his passing was actually pretty good in my opinion. out of the post. I think, especially when he got with Magic, like he was pretty decent as a pass out the post later in his career. So that's just one thing I wanted to add. He's a crazy offensive weapon, just dumbing it down. He had that unstoppable shot no one could do anything with. So yeah, nothing much to add to what you said.
Wait, before I talk about Kareem, does that mean all of us have Shaq in the top four?
I just put Shaq in my top four.
Okay, I
Hey,
thought I was higher on him like by far or something. That's crazy. Okay,
I might be the highest on the Shaq here. Might
okay, we'll see.
depending on what you
Anyway,
do.
so by the way, when we get to the top three, we'll say our goats first. So I'll
Yeah,
just say that. But before that, about Kareem, I think as a basketball player, he's top three. Um, he's to me the third behind LeBron and MJ, or even like equal to them. That's how good he was. And the reason I'm not as high on him, like in my ranking, is the same as KD and Wilt, but to a lesser degree than them because he still did more than they did compared to his talent level. I think he's just there is something when I watch him, I feel like he's overqualified in a way. I don't know if y'all get this feeling while watching him, but it feels at times like basketball was not really his priority. I don't know. I'm not trying to like do a psychoanalysis of him, but maybe
No,
that's it. Maybe that's a
it
good
was very
thing.
well documented that he
Yeah,
wasn't.
like
Yeah,
he was
Sure.
complacent with the skyhook because it was so unstoppable, but I think he didn't need to be. His
especially
basketball
that first
skill.
year, especially that first year at the Lakers, he was very well documented. Him lashing out at and commercials, all type of things. Him lashing out in interviews,
Yeah, I will
not
say
wanting
though,
to
I
run at the
appreciate.
scheme,
Yeah,
not wanting to practice. So
yeah, I appreciate the fact that he. I mean, when he got drafted, he did something. I want to say that it's not a basketball thing, but I will say that to him, it's something that is moving to me. When there was the ABA and NBA, and they were both wanted him, and he said, "I'm a human being. I'm not a product. I will not have a bidding over me. Each team send me their offer. I'm taking the higher one, but I don't want any negotiation. That's it. Like one offer from each team in a closed envelope. No phone calls, no renegotiations, and he stood on business when both teams sent him. When he accepted the Milwaukee Bucks offer, he was offered triple that amount by the ABA team, and he said no because I said before that it's one offer from each team, and that's it. I'm not a product. I'm a human being, and that to me says a lot. Like that's a monumental uh, action, and it's documented about him.
I
And
respect
I
that.
think, yeah, that's like you don't see that from athletes, especially at that time. Um, they needed that money. I mean, they were not as rich as they are right now. So
also a big
still,
social justice warrior for the.
That,
at that
that's
time, yeah,
that's what I was
for
about
sure.
to say. He was rude. That steps like that, him changing his name, him not trying to him going in interviews and talking about a lot of problems that they have in America at the time. Him saying that, hey, you guys look at us like product, we're not product, we're human beings, like you just said. I think that's something that
Yeah,
needs to be
that,
highlighted about him because he
that's a
was very
story.
big on standing out for the Black Americans of the world. So
Yeah, that's something that when I heard about him, I was so impressed by it because I'm so used to athletes being like, if there's an extra dollar, they'll take it, even though they're so much richer now, which is crazy. But yeah, as a basketball player, as I said, I felt like even though he was averaging a lot of points and a lot of rebounds, I always felt like he could do more. I don't know what exactly, but I felt like he could do more. He was so quick, for example, but he never actually used that quickness. His lateral quickness was crazy for a big man. He was like Wimbenyama levels of quickness, in my opinion, not as a
Like he
dribbler.
was athletic as hell.
Yeah,
He
like
was
not as a
real.
dribbler, but as in movement, he was as quick as
He's
Wimbenyama.
probably taller than people say he is. I think I've heard a lot of Ralph Sampson was Wemby because he was 7'4", and I've seen a lot of people say that's fake, and Kareem is actually more the guy that was like 7'3". Like he would lie to himself a little bit shorter because didn't being a tall black man, the brute force, that was not a image people liked. So
I've seen Kareem in person. I barely hit his stomach. Like I'll be I'm 6'1" and I barely go to his
Oh my
stomach. Like
God.
the guy is a tower. Like
And he's old too. Like he's probably shorter than he was at his peak.
yeah,
It's unusual.
so
Yeah.
This I think we can go to number 4.
No, before we go to number 4, we haven't. I mean, he's the most the most decorated player ever. That's something we should also say. I mean, in terms of a Hall of Fame resume, I think he has the most accolades of anyone who played basketball in general. So that's another thing about Kareem. But like I said, I
He
think
won like
all
3
three of
times
us,
in college.
yeah, all
And
three of us don't value accolades enough. That's probably why he's not as high on our lists as most people. But like I said, as a basketball player, he's top 3. As a career, he's number 1 or number 2. But the reason, like I said, is because I don't think he did like he. I don't think he played as hard as other players, and mainly on defense. I think he was good enough on defense to be the best defender in the league. He just didn't care enough.
Rebounding was his big weakness, you could say. That was when he went up against the Moses.
that was sometimes that was an effort thing though. What you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think he was just thin. But in terms of like effort, I think it's the issue. But yeah, number 4. What do you guys have at 4?
He had Kareem. I have Shaq.
Okay, I have Shaq higher, so I'm gonna go to the player that I haven't named yet, which is Kobe. Uh, Kobe at 4. Okay, so before I think my first thing that I need to say is why Kobe's higher than LeBron, and I will say that I don't think Kobe's better than LeBron. It's just Kobe to me was anywhere from 4 to 11, and I ended up putting him the highest I could because I like him. And LeBron was anywhere from 1 to 5, but I ended up putting him the lowest because of who I'd rather have on my. I don't dislike LeBron, but who I'd rather have on my teams. He's the last of the 5, and
Okay.
that's really it. It's not as a basketball player, not as in terms of value, because I think LeBron is more valuable than Kobe. He is better than Kobe. The only thing that is Kobe is higher at is the subjective part of who I'd rather build my team around. And the reason for that is, and I think I haven't mentioned yet why I'd rather have that. I don't like it. I don't like Swiss Army knife players because you don't know which blade you're getting at every specific play. And I think coaching is a big aspect of what builds dynasties. A coach needs to know what he's getting out of you in every play and build around that. And a GM needs to know what you do and what you don't do to build around that. Kobe was not defending 5 positions, so he didn't need. So it was easy to know. Okay, we need a great wing defender with him, a Rick Fox or like a Ron Artest. We know that. Like he's not gonna play. Like he's not a big man, so we know that we need a good big man with him to win games. LeBron was like, yeah, he can play 1 through 5 on offense, 1 through 5 on defense. That to me is okay. Yeah, that's better basketball player. But what is he doing in this? Like, what 4 players are you putting around him? You're always losing something. If you put him at the 1, you don't have a table setter because now only one other player is touching the ball. Now he's gonna be like a James Harden. But if you put him at like a 2 or a 3, he's a wing, but he's not defending the other team's ISO score. And he's not an ISO scorer himself. And if you put him at a big, he's not that good of a rebounder. And as a rim protector, his volume is not that high. He takes a lot of plays off. So you cannot trust him as a rim protector on average. I mean, through 4 quarters. So I think LeBron's greatness is also his weakness in a way. On a 5-on-5 game, it's hard to build a team around LeBron that doesn't have weaknesses in the lineup because you always need him to excel at things that he doesn't do for 30 plus minutes because he does different things across different parts of the game. And it's usually up to his mood, not to who he has with. I know that.
I have LeBron higher, so
Yeah, but I was talking. Oh yeah,
yeah,
I
you're
was
talking about
supposed to
Kobe.
talk about Kobe. Yeah, yeah.
Who do you got better defensively, Kobe or LeBron?
What?
Who's better defensively, Kobe or LeBron to you? And their
Uh,
peak.
better peak. It's hard to say because both of them are overrated. I'd rather have '09 LeBron to me was probably the best
Okay.
defender of the two, and then like 2000 Kobe, and then I go for Heat LeBron, and then the rest of Kobe. So that's how I rank it. But '09 LeBron was crazy, as a volume at least, like because that's the aspect of him that I criticized just now. But let's talk about Kobe. I think Kobe, one of the most underrated aspects of his game is his shooting. I think I don't care about numbers. He's one of the greatest shooters of all time, and teams defended him like it, and that's the most important part. You don't need to make every shot. You need the opponent to believe that you'll make every shot. That's what matters most in terms of team building, which is what I was alluding to with LeBron just now. If teams think that you're going to make every shot, you can build a scheme around that. And that's impact. That's like impact across the basketball game. And that's what was happening. Teams defended him the way they defend Steph. Not to that degree, not at half court, but they defended him like he can make every shot. So it doesn't matter what his percentage was at the end, in my opinion. And also, his playoff raising to me is the part that I value most because his game is supposed to suffer in the playoff, but it doesn't. Guards are not playoff raisers in general. Only MJ and Kobe did it.
And
And
Reggie Miller.
yeah, shout Reggie Miller, but I'm talking like at the highest level.
When Jimmy Butler plays shooting guard, yeah.
The fact that Kobe was doing that against the Spurs, I don't know how he did it. I still watch these games and I don't. This is the best basketball he's played. This is the version of Kobe that's better than LeBron. Kobe against the Spurs. If you're better against the best defensive dynasty of your eras,
In
because
like the whole 2010s, or do you have a specific series in mind?
in general, every time he played the Spurs, I felt
Who's the
like
best?
every time he played the Spurs, he was cooking them. And LeBron struggled against them.
He would have probably won conference finals MVP in
What?
01. He would have probably won conference finals MVP in 01 when they played the Spurs, if they had
Yeah,
given out the award back then.
How much better defensively do you think the Spurs are than the Warriors teams that LeBron was cooking?
I think they were better. Like Bruce
Do you
Bowen
think,
and
think
Tim
there's a
Duncan.
gap or
But
Yeah,
okay?
Bruce Bowen and Tim Duncan, Manu. Like that's a better team than the Warriors. But yeah, I mean LeBron when he struggled against the Warriors, it was only because his co-stars were injured, not because he played bad. He didn't struggle against the Warriors. He struggled
He,
against the Spurs.
he also had a back injury that year as well. So
Yeah, like I don't think he actually struggled per se. Like people use the Iggy stuff. I don't think he just played at a high volume with no co-stars. That's bound to hurt your averages, but I don't think he actually was limited or anything. Like it was only the Spurs. The Spurs are the only team I felt limited LeBron a bit. Uh, like after he went to the Heat, because before the Heat, many teams did it, but after he went to the Heat, the only team I've seen, of course, outside of 2011 Mavs, the Spurs were the team that made me feel like LeBron has to play at a low volume. Even in 2014, when he was super efficient, he couldn't increase his volume because of that. And Kobe, to be the best player against that team matters. To be the best player in series against top teams in general, because he was better. The better the defense, the better he played. That's crazy. Like he played in the playoffs against 50-win teams every year, almost every series. Like maybe the first
he
round was an
he
exception.
did struggle against the Pistons, to be fair.
Yeah, that's the only team. In '04 specifically, that series was his worst.
And against the Celtics twice.
well, do you think also
Against
like
the Celtics, I still think he was the best offensive player in that series. Is it crazy to say that?
He
But
was.
that's also because the Celtics didn't have that many good offensive players.
No, they had three. They had four good defensive players, and none of them played well. That's how like the defense was in that series. That series was very slow paced and very like hard to play because Phil Jackson is one of the best defensive coaches, and then you got a team that has Tony Allen, KG, Kendrick Perkins, Rasheed Wallace, Rajon Rondo. Like that's like probably the best defensive core ever in terms of personnel. So yeah, like both teams had the personnel to play elite defense, and that's why both teams were struggling. Pau Gasol was like 6 of 18, and people remember Kobe being um, 6 of 24 because it's Kobe. But Pau was also very inefficient in that game. Like it's KG too. Pierce and Ray Allen. Like everyone was struggling that game. And actually, before that game, because it's a small sample size, it's one series. Before that game, Kobe was clearly the best player in that series offensively by far. Everyone was struggling except for him. It's only in that game that he struggled so much that he became like them in a way. He dropped like they did across the series. But before that game, before the game 7 against the Celtics, he was better than everyone else by far. He was the one carrying the Lakers in that series apart from that game. Um, and I think that's another aspect of like the 2010 season. One fact I'd like to say, they finished as the top seed, and they were, I think, 7 games higher than the eighth seed. It was like 57, and the eighth seed was 50 games, I think. Kobe hit 7 game winners in that regular season. So without his direct game winners, they were the eighth seed, and they won a championship. I'll just say that. That's how competitive the West that he played in was. The
Yeah,
Lakers were not even close to being a super team. They were very close to the other Western team. He was the difference maker.
I I
That's
think I think also talked about Kobe a lot previously.
yeah,
So I think, is it okay if we move on to these number
yeah,
threes?
yeah. Sure,
It's
sure.
also getting kind of late here. I'll just go to my number three. My number three, I think I'm the only
No,
one.
no. Before number 3, we should say our ghosts now because top
Oh,
three.
oh,
First, everyone says top 3, and then the go.
oh yeah.
Like
My
what
top,
who are the 3 players? Not in order, and then say your go.
my top three is Russell, Jordan, and LeBron, and my number one is LeBron. So
Okay. How about you, Jason?
My top three would be, let's just scramble up a little bit. Shaq, MJ, LeBron. My number one was LeBron. So
Top 3 is uh, Shaq, MJ, and Russell, and my number 1 is Russell.
yes,
Yeah. Okay.
hey, I'll be honest with you. If you, I never thought I would be in a space where there's people who. Cause I'm not against it. I've heard the case. I heard the case. I watched it. I'm like, okay, you got it. And you think
Yeah,
Bill
my
Russell's the
case is
goat?
everything.
If
Everything
you
Mark said. That's the
if you
case.
think
Just
Bill Russell's the goat, hey, you got it, man. We just don't agree. It is what it is. I never thought I'd be in a room with two of them. I didn't think that. I was
I had him
like,
at okay. Since we are here anyway, I had him at 3, and I had Jordan at 2. So he's not my goat, but
yeah.
he's definitely up there for me.
Okay. So, what should we start from 1 or from 3 now?
Let's start with 3. We're here anyway. I had. What was your grilling? You said it. You said it. But I don't know. Let's talk
It
about
has,
Bill Russell. We're here anyway.
has to be.
We
Oh, okay. I thought it would be Shaq, but okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because we both have Shaq at 3. So
okay. Yeah. Let's talk about Shaq. My bad. I forgot about Shaq. So yeah, Shaq was my number 4 and you guys number 3. I think one thing you guys said about you think Kareem could have done better is what I think Shaq did. In that Shaq forced defensive to adjust to him so much more because the shots he commanded was like dunks. And what Kareem demanded was sky hooks. And Shaq would just carve out. Like Shaq is probably he's not a better off-ball player than Steph Curry. Let's not get that twisted. But he would also work off the ball. But it
Yeah.
was working in this 3x3, like 5x5 space right around the painted area. Just carve out space, get a close post touch, either I overpower for a dunk or I hit like a little hook. And he was so strong with it in that lower base. You could not push Shaq off his base. I watched the Timberwolves try to defend him with Mark Madsen, and he's literally just leaning forward. Like when I say leaning forward, he is in a straight line like this, with his hand on his hip, just pushing Shaq. Like
Mhm.
people were doing anything to stop him,
And
and
he
they would
also
come
repositioned
three
himself a lot.
players, and he would just go fuck a triple team and score anyway. Like
Yeah,
that's what
he
Shaq would
didn't.
do.
Care. He didn't care.
He would not care. And I think one of his, if he met an ill-prepared team, there's nothing they could do about it. Either you had an answer for Shaq, and you could kind of do things like the Blazers and sometimes the Spurs did, where they it's not like they shut Shaq down, but they could do things
I think the
against
Spurs are
other
the
teams.
only team not done
They
well.
were
The
too.
Blazers did not. They just collapsed on him the way every other team did, but they did it earlier. That's all. But if you're leaving three players open, I don't really think that's doing something.
Remember when I said that a KG is only one other player with a player who has the two-way impact KG has when it comes to being number one offensively and defensively the way he was
Yeah,
equally. Shaq is that guy. To me, Shaq has the best peak of all time to me. When it
yeah.
comes to two or single season peaks, I'm going to say three because that 2000s one was too dominant. There's something to be said about a player where, and this is, I guess, non-basketball to some people, but to me, this means a lot. You're so good. We've seen players that are so good that you start drafting a certain type of player. We've seen players that they're so good that we start developing type of players. We've seen players that are so good, people start developing types of teams. You've never seen a player to this day so good that you hire non-NBA players to play for you. That's ridiculous. Like you gotta think they hired a bunch of 7'1" bozos who couldn't do anything besides foul the guy because he was that good.
Yeah.
And then even if you did, let's say even if you did want to say, oh, you can't, it was like trying to cut off a corner because you say that, he's probably not better than Steph Curry offensively off the ball, but Shaq would still move around. Shaq wouldn't just stand there all the time in the paint.
No, he would fight for position.
He would move. That's one thing. Like that's a lost art. I feel like to now NBA that Shaq was amazing at. He would move. He wouldn't just allow you not to be able to get the pass, not be able to get the pass off to him. He's gonna move around to get that pass, and that's something I think that's very underrated because you wouldn't expect someone who's so strong, so big, to be that smart to know where to cut and where not to cut to get the ball.
Yeah.
He had a great feel for that. He was really good. And also as a passer, he was a really good passer out of these double teams and out of the
Out of this quadruple team. Out of this quadruple team.
Yeah, the quadruple teams. Which is not that hard to do. You just have to hit the one guy that's not. You just have to not hit the one guy that's covered. And then
Shaq is so good, people actually think that Pacers and Blazers team are trash because he was just
they were
good.
Great. I don't know. I think all of the teams they beat were great teams.
Those were elite teams.
The only team was the Nets. The Nets were the only team I think was bad. The Sixers were not bad. They were just bad offensively, but they were not like. They were a good enough defense to stop anybody. Just Shaq isn't anybody. That's all. So I think, but if I'm going to start, I'm going to start with the fact that the only one we mentioned today that they changed the rules because he was too good. That's Shaq. And it affected him on both ends, by the way. And he was still the best player in the league the next season, which is crazy. That to me matters a lot because if you're so good that they changed the rules to affect you on both ends, because the Spurs could, like, if they faced him earlier, they wouldn't be able to defend him. It's after the legal, like the zone defense was allowed. now they can deny him the ball. They did not stop him with the ball; they denied him the ball. And because no one could stop him when he has the ball. That's not gonna happen. So they denied him the ball a lot with the playing the passing lanes that they couldn't play before. No team could play before, and that's how they limited him a bit. And that's how Kobe rose to the equation because he excels in these situations that require a lot of counters. But Shaq, to me, the reason I'm so high on him, I think he's my number one overall pick in the criteria that I mentioned of who I'd rather have on my team. That's my number one overall pick, not just at his peak, but generally. I don't think there's any player in league history I'd rather have more than Shaq. Maybe like Steph is close number
No,
two.
I
But
agree.
yeah,
I agree.
Shaq is number one, and I would not think twice about it. He's just so good. He's the only player that I watched that made me feel like the NBA is just not that good.
He's the
Like,
only player that made certain him. Like obviously LeBron, Jordan did it too, some other players, but he the way he, the way people talk about how the way people discredit Kobe and how good he was because how good Shaq was is something to be. Does that not mean something at that point? Because
Yeah, I mean
the
he gets
player,
jacked, but that's also
the player is so good. They're not realizing, dang, Kobe by 03 is still
shit. But this shit, they'll
peaking at
tax
all
anyone
time
for any
levels.
player they're playing with. They'll
actually,
tax.
that's something I remember going to chill with Chill before to challenge that. You have Kareem and Magic both in like your top five, and when it comes to Kobe and Shaq, you're saying, "Oh, Kobe played with Shaq," but then you have Shaq at 10.
We
What?
we
I've given up on
no,
that.
no.
So
Do you remember what that we talked about that Lakers team, the teams they had in the 80s? Oh my goodness! I know we talked positively about Magic today.
Yeah, outside of the 2000 Lakers, I think the two are like the 01 and 02 Lakers are overrated. Not gonna lie. The 2000 Lakers were a super team. I'll give you that. They still
Shaq,
had Ron Harper. They had Glenn Rice. They were a great team. Like that's two former All Stars playing a reduced role. But in 01 and 02, it was legit two superstars and a bunch of players that would not average double figures in any other team.
I'm gonna be honest
I
with you. Kobe
I
could have
will
been a
say
role player. They could have won that to me, and that's how good I think he was in
Derek
2000.
Fisher went to a rebuilding team and averaged like 14 points and 5 assists.
I will
I'll just
say
say that.
I did really like watching the Lakers. I really like the role players like Robert Ory. I feel like is criminally underrated because he always just get brought up for his rings. He's a really good player.
Yeah,
That
very
was
smart. He's
a
very smart.
spacing four, a guy who knew how to fit in on defense, could handle the ball a little bit on offense. I think Rick Fox was a really good role player. I think they just had guys that was really good.
Yeah, they
Like
were good role players, but I'm saying they're
yeah,
not.
not stars, not anything, but
Like
like also
if one of Shaq and Kobe is not on the court, it's a one man show. No,
yeah, for sure.
that's what I mean. But I mean, as players in general in the system, and that's what I was talking about when I mentioned LeBron earlier and Kobe, because that was a Kobe and Shaq point, which I made about LeBron, but it was a Kobe and Shaq point. You can build a team around that, around Kobe and Shaq like that, and it would look like a super team. You cannot do that with most players, not just LeBron, but most players. You cannot do that.
I think if you put Prime LeBron with 2020 Anthony Davis, they're gonna look like a super team.
And they had a
Hey,
great team around him. I mean, Rajon
hey,
Rondo.
I think if that team has Prime LeBron,
I feel like
that's
that's a topic for another day. Because hey, I'm with you. I'm with you. But I got a topic for another
that
day.
team was damn near a super team in 2020 with that LeBron and not.
I mean, I'm high on 2020 LeBron. I don't think any version of LeBron was not good enough. Like the guy has been,
No, but
yeah,
that's a different 2013 is a different level LeBron.
yeah. I mean, as a player individually, yes, but as an impact, which I also mentioned, the impact doesn't decrease much with how you age unless you're significantly like struggling at something. But LeBron was not struggling with anything in 2020 to be hunted by other teams. So he was still like doing that. So I think that's all for Shaq, or does anyone want to add
I
something?
did
I
want
don't.
to talk about his defense a little bit actually because we just said it
Yeah.
was.
Without the 3 second rule, Shaq is just a spamming blocking machine.
Actually, this goes into your defensive thing because that's I want to follow up with this. The longevity of Shaq gets so disrespected because, like you said, his defense. Year one of the three best defenders in the league. 3 or 4. Year one, I think. I think year one. Even if you don't want to say year one, year
I
two. Either
Pippen,
way,
Robinson, and Dixon.
either
But yeah,
way, I think he's a top 10 defender in the league the
I, mean,
minute he
I
got
get you.
the minute he went to the league. And that lasted his whole entire career as a Magic, his whole entire career in the 90s. I think that gets underrated defensively. I think that's
Yeah, I hate whoever came up with the idea of the 3 second rule. I genuinely hate you. Whoever you are, I hate you.
There's no defense of 3 seconds in Europe.
Yeah, I don't. I think they came up with that specifically because they thought Shaq was too good.
His rim protection was amazing. He is one of the best rim protectors ever. He did lack mobility and motor. That was
Yeah.
his big weakness. I just watched them play the Kings, and he was switch on to Pacers Stojakovic because he's always an amazing shooter. And the commentators were really glazing how he flipped his feet, and Pacers just took 2 steps to the left and hit an open jump shot. It's like this is what we're hyping up. It doesn't bode very well for his mobility. Let's say it like that. Like he had a pretty like for his size, his mobility was obviously good, and he was intimidating down there. Like he would knock people out when they went into the
Yeah.
ring. He was just a
I think
physical
it's
person.
physically taxing to play against him. Like you get tired very
So
quickly. People
People
said
are
that
going
about
to
LeBron as
the
well. Him and LeBron are very physically.
I I do think people had a way to attack him through getting him into the action with pick and rolls and through running. That was actually a lot of people talk about what Shaq would be in the modern day, and I think he would obviously be amazing on offense. But on defense, his big problem would be that there's people are so min-maxed today that a team like the Pacers, if you play the Pacers, yeah, they can't stop him. But every time, even after makes, they will run. They will force you. They will
Right. I
hunt,
mean, the
hunt,
three
hunt.
second rule even at the time hurt his defense a lot. And now imagine now when they are like building entire offenses around it. So
You know
it's
how we talk about Cat's defense and Jokic's defense in a pick and roll? Shaq wouldn't be worse, but goddamn, they'd be frying Shaq for this pick and
And
roll
his
defense
big
today's
problem is that
age.
he doesn't really have the motor to do that
yeah,
and
he
play
doesn't
off.
care enough. Yeah. And it's
Not even
that's
the
why
motor.
it's
I just
also
don't think he had the stamina. Like he would
yeah,
get
yeah.
tired.
At that size you cannot have enough stamina for both ends
No.
really. But I think
He's an offensive lineman.
also his like we talked about his off ball movement. That's taxing a lot when you're at that size and you're spinning like that all the time. They called it the tornado spin, I think. He was even spinning without the ball to get the ball. Like he was like doing a lot of spins. So it's hard to play defense while you're moving like that because teams are trying to deny you the ball so hard. Also, I don't know what I wanted to say about him, and I forgot about his defense. But yeah, I'm not that high on his defense after the 3 second rule. But I will say that rule was stupid. So yeah, he was great before the rule.
Who is the next guy you guys want to talk about?
I mean, I guess it has to be either LeBron or Mark.
Let's
We
talk about
haven't talked
Mike.
about Bill Russell yet.
I mean, he's my number one. So if you wanted me to talk about him, okay, it's in a very short description.
Let's take him and then we can do Jordan and LeBron because they are connected in a sense.
Yeah, just go ahead and watch whatever Mars said, and that's my argument. Because I'm not usually like that, I like to make my own arguments, but I was convinced before Mars, but I cannot say it like he does.
No.
It's about the defense and how much it meant. I don't think any player can win that much and not be the best player ever at any sport, especially in a sport like basketball where individual prowess matters so much. If you win that much, it's because you're the best. That's Now, why was he the best? It was his defense and the fact that um, they struggled when he got like when he had left. They became the worst defense in the league after being the best defense in the league. And before he came, they were a bottom defense. In his era, they were the best defense every single year.
They're the best team in like highest net rating in the league while having the worst offense.
Yeah,
That's how good their
and
defense was. They could be the worst offense and still be the best team.
that to me is why I think the whole super team thing falls.
I do
You
agree
cannot be a
with
super team if you're the worst offense in the league. You cannot be a super team.
Yeah, we were making our worst. I was kind of looking at the most overrated list we were talking about making at some point, and I put all of Bill Russell's teammates except for John Havlicek.
Yeah,
All of
I
Bill
mean, I
Russell's
don't
teammates.
think as a category, yes, Bill Russell's team, but not a specific player because no one really gets glazed like
No,
that
no, no, no.
as a
It's
player.
because they
Like
made
I
the
don't see. Oh, let's have a Tommy Hines in conversation.
No, no, of course not. But like it's his teammates because everyone is like, oh, they had these Hall of Famers, and no one stopped to think that maybe the reason all these guys made the Hall of Fame is because they were in the teams that won
Yeah, I
11
would say one,
championships
one one
in
thing
the
about them
60s.
though, they could play basketball better than other teams' players, and I'm talking about just dribbling, like the basics. Because at that era, sometimes you see a player coming in, he cannot even catch a pass. You'll see that when you watch 60s basketball. Sometimes you have players, especially in the early 60s. There were players who were so like fundamentally not there
If
yet. The game was still like
if we
developing.
are gonna, do want to talk a little bit about what made his defense so great, and it was
Go.
obviously like the rim protections, the ability to read actions and be the right places. I think one of the not talked about is his switchability. He was either switching on to Jerry West and blocking his shots. That's like the best guard in the league. He's like switching on to him. He was amazing at the rim. He was the best man defender at the time and the best team defender. He was the best one-on-one defender for anyone. Any big, they were all taking huge cuts. I think in Will Chamberlain's 50-point per game seasons, he went from like he takes a 14-point per game drop versus the league versus Bill Russell. Like
That's a that's an insane
14
drop.
points is crazy, and like 4% true shooting or something. That's insane, and
If that happened today, Wilt is retiring out of cyberbullying.
there
so.
was there was a there was this he on a per minute basis he made Will Chamberlain go from Michael Jordan to Paul George as a scorer during that 50 point.
Hey, okay, chill out. All right, okay.
No, but that's like the number is what the number is. Like
I like how you chose Paul George of all people. That's
I
Vincent.
stole it from Thinking Basketball. He has a graphic with it. He used Paul George. But like that says something because like taking that much off the scores, he didn't do that to everyone. The other guys just had normal cutoffs where they
Yeah.
4 points and 4% true shooting or something. But like he was amazing at defense, both as a man defender when Biggs was the most valuable offensive players that people played through, and as a team defender where everyone was trying to get to the rim, and he probably blocked 8 shots a game, but he didn't goaltend a lot like Will Chamberlain would do. And he was such a smart player, such a team player. Like he would even block shots to start offensive breaks. Like that's how far. Like his defense not actually like
And by the
when
way,
the
he was a great passer and like fast break
great passer
start.
in the
Fast
hub.
break start. He
His
started the fast
big
break
water
very
is his offense. Like he's not a really good offensive player.
Yeah,
He's
with the ball, yes. Like in terms of having the ball in his hands and doing something in the
he was
half
not
court,
score.
I agree with you. In the half court, he was not a good basketball player. But in terms of starting the fast
He's
break,
good.
I think he was really good. It's like he's similar to Al Horford in a way, on offense. Like older Al Horford, not young Al Horford, but old Al Horford. Very good at starting the fast break, but if he's on the half court, he's probably just doing entry passes. It's like high post
Uh,
playmaking.
so I got here for emergency. I gotta go soon, but this one thing I want to get off just a little bit if I could,
Go ahead.
because like I said, MJ's my number two. I just want to get this off first. I told him here I was hate watching MJ this year. I was buying games to hate watch
Buying games. Okay.
So
Buying games
this is
is
how
crazy.
much how this is how much I was hate watching. I came out that hate watch. Yeah, it's kind of ready to go. That's why I thought that's the first. This guy might just be the go. I got LeBron because of the longevity, and I think LeBron and his peak go hand in hand, but they go it's either way.
Mhm.
But is it? But my thing about Jordan, and I used to think that dang, this guy is probably like how is he not? He's not very. Well, he's good at passing. I don't think he's elite, but he's good. He's great. I think my biggest thing about Jordan, and this is where efficiency merchants, this is where you lose me. People who how about efficiency, and they see Jordan shot 40 shots. I'm sorry, you needed every single shot he needed for that game to win, because that was amazing right there.
Someone's calling me.
I think you gotta go, Jason.
Yeah. I'll get, but I appreciate y'all for letting me on because I gotta go now.
Always.
Yeah.
Have
Appreciate
a
the
good
hoop
one.
talk.
We'll finish up this.
All right, y'all be safe.
All right, Amir. Let's finish with the two people it always ends up with in these debates.
Yeah, LeBron and MJ.
Bill,
I will say
LeBron James and Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Jason talked about Michael, so let's talk about Michael. Michael is the best scorer of all time to me, and it's because the volume he was scoring at was unheard of. Like I think he had like one series below 25, 27 points or something. His whole career.
Yeah, actually, he was only outscored in a playoff series by an opponent once, and it was by 0.2 points in his first playoff series ever. That's the only time he didn't lead the series in scoring.
His scoring volume was so in his own league compared to anyone that's ever played this game.
Yeah.
It's actually not funny. And he was like a plus if it like we're not talking Steph 2016 efficiency here. It's like he's like +6, which is really good when you're scoring 40 points in playoff series. That's like you're getting like whatever, like 30 shots that like really above league average scoring. That just adds so much. And because he attacked so much, was so involved in scoring, that created a huge playmaking that he really also had in his impact. That was amazing. I think in his scoring, he was maybe the best athlete this game has ever seen. He was so fast off that first step and just accelerating through.
Yeah.
He could jump so high when he got to the rim. He would finish ridiculous stuff around defenders.
I think we can talk about MJ more extensively when we do his career summary, but I wanted to ask because we're already like too long into this. Do you think LeBron is a better player, or do you think LeBron lasted longer and so he had a better career?
I think MJ's peak. I think MJ's peak and LeBron's peak are like right there. I think it depends on team construction and so on. I would maybe have MJ's a little higher, but I think they're right there. And I can't look beyond like LeBron's played 8 more years than MJ, and you're not
Yeah.
about to tell me that MJ in his 15 years is as good at the 23 years. And
No,
it's
no,
not
that's for
23
sure.
terrible years.
Longevity.
The only bad years you can like kind of May years are like his rookie year and this year. And you have
Yeah.
21 years in between. And like you're not about to tell me that the 13 Chicago years is better than like he's not making up for 8 seasons. That's just not possible.
Yeah. I'm not gonna argue that. That's not. I was asking that question particularly because that is really the argument. It's because we all know longevity-wise and career-wise, it's LeBron. The question is always who's the better player if you have to choose between them for the number of years Jordan had. That's usually the question. Like if you're choosing the best,
You take the
let's
best
say,
13 years of each.
yeah,
You
if you're
take
taking
all
the
of
best,
Michael's Chicago years versus I don't know the best 13 years of LeBron.
yeah, that's my question.
But here's where the longevity gives LeBron an edge because then you can go 08 to like 2021, and LeBron just wins so much in the edge years. Like 08 is better than rookie Michael Jordan. '09 is clears second year MJ by like '09 LeBron might be better than like peak MJ. Not even talking about
I don't
second
think
year
so. What
MJ.
I mean, yeah, that's the
But
question
I
I'm
know what you
asking.
mean. Like if you take the best, like if you take the best 5, 8 years,
No,
then
no,
we're
no,
talking.
not just like even if you say the best 10 years, like because 5, 8 years is like that's now we're talking peak or prime. I'm taking like okay, if we're removing the years that don't matter much, because Jordan had 1 year he missed due to injury. He had the rookie season, of course. If we're
Like
taking the best
87 to
10, the best
98.
the 10 years he led the league in score. Let's say those.
Yeah, that's
If we're
probably
taking
87.
those 10
86.
years versus LeBron's best 10 years, who would be the player you're taking?
I'd probably say LeBron because then you're talking about like
Okay.
'09 LeBron to 19 LeBron or '09 LeBron to 20 LeBron. And I just think there's too many. Like you're just it's because you can. LeBron has so many years to choose from, and like his 10 years are just '09 and 18, and then obviously 15 and 11 that kind of drops.
Yeah,
19 he was hurt a bit, and then 20 he has that championship year with AD that's probably on the level of a 97, 98 MJ,
yeah,
and then at 18 LeBron is better than 86. Like no, I mean '09 LeBron is better than 86 MJ by a lot. '10 LeBron is better than 97 AJ, and then '11 is probably 88 MJ is better. You gotta kick Jason, by the way.
yeah. I don't know what's going on here. Let's at least mute. I mean,
Jason couldn't just leave.
yeah, I just muted him.
But like,
In
and then you got
case,
12 and 13. It's just so many of these years are just going to be comparable to MJ's peak years. So
yeah,
I do think in that which with like the best 5 years there, I would
yeah,
say it's
that's where we disagree. That's the point. I think MJ was a better basketball player, but not by far, like by a very slim margin. But I think LeBron is the best playmaker ever, probably the best offensive player in general ever. Um, the reason I have MJ higher is particularly not just the scoring. I think defense also is very close because I think MJ was a better defender than Kobe. Um, at his best, especially not after he came out of retirement, but before his first retirement, he was an elite defender when he tried to be. Um, I'd say the reason I have Jordan higher is the team construction thing because what I said about LeBron, I think is it matters to me because I think it's very hard to build a lineup around like he's played with every prototype. He's been here for so long. He played with every prototype at every tier. So at the pass first point guard, he played with a lot of pass first point guard. He played with a lot of like spot up shooters, table setters, ball in hand point guards like Kyrie. He played with defensive guards, 3 and D guards, slashing guards at all levels again, like from Larry Hughes to Dwayne Wade to Alex Caruso to Contavious Caldwell Pope to Avery Bradley. Like, he played with different tiers of different prototypes, even coaches. So I don't think whenever I hear like Chill or someone who's higher on LeBron say, "Oh, we've never seen LeBron have the opportunity to," no, LeBron has had the opportunity to do everything ever. Like compared to any other player, he's had the most opportunities. So he's never missed an opportunity to do anything. He's had every team possible. And yet, there are times in which I feel like he's one of the reasons the team is bad at something. With the Heat, the team was weak inside, defensively and on rebounds, because the team had to be built so small to fit LeBron and Dwayne Wade. And that to me is something like now we're nitpicking, of course, because if that's what we're talking about, then we're nitpicking. But that's why I have MJ higher, is because you don't need to concern yourself with these things. You don't need to say, oh, we have to pair him with one of his friends who's also a superstar, and now his friend is also a slasher, so we need a lot of shooters to make up for that. And oh, now we don't have enough space for centers. Oh,
If we're gonna do the friends argument, could we then also argue that it's easier to build a team about LeBron because he can recruit his friends? Like he gets to give us, he can get us
No,
in.
it makes it more difficult because
No,
he,
because like, okay, what if Michael Jordan, what if Michael Jordan doesn't have the best GM in the league, who picks Scottie Pippen number 7? Then you're just fucked. Like, if you don't get extremely lucky and hit this all-time top 30 player at the
the
7th
the
pick,
only time the friend thing helped LeBron was Wade. I mean, the others were just
and AD,
GM mode.
AD helped.
AD was. It's not because he was his friend. They traded the whole team. I mean, it was.
Yeah, but that's also a little bit unfortunate. Like if AD was just a free agent in 2019 instead of 2020,
Yeah, yeah,
then
but I mean that's. I mean, the AD Lakers were probably the most well-built team. I would have loved to see LeBron play more
yeah, play
like
10 years with AD at their prime would have been awesome to see.
not specifically AD, but a player like that earlier. Not AD specifically because there was no other AD, of course. But I think LeBron recruiting his friends who are not really the best fit for him was a disservice, more of a service. So AD was the exception, not the rule. Like Chris Bosh was not a very good fit. Carmelo was a terrible fit. Russell
I
Westbrook
think
was a
Chris Bosh
terrible
was a
fit.
great fit for what he ended up being. When he ended up being like more the spacing 5, I think that was a really good fit. Like having
You talking about
being
Chris Bosh?
the ability to go out 5 out. I think Wade was more the problem fit. If they had like because he ended up being more LeBron's backup
No,
than anything.
I
Like he ended up being they
I
played
disagree.
a lot of the same ways with Wade that they did with when Braun went to the bench, as they did when Wade went to the bench. They
I
played.
disagree because if you're signing Chris Bosh to be the stretch five, giving up the defense and the rebounding, that's
I
an
think
issue.
he ended up being a pretty good defender, though, in my opinion.
He played decently, but not very well. The very good is a stretch. I mean, look at what Roy Hibbert did to them. Roy Hibbert was acting like Hakeem out there. I don't think that happens on a team that has a good big center. Whether it's Chris Bosh or LeBron, whoever was playing at Roy Hibbert. And that's why I think it's difficult to build a good defense around LeBron, like at the rim, because he needs a small lineup and then a stretch five, and most stretch fives cannot play defense. Let's be real, right?
I don't necessarily think like because they also played the Chris. That's how they got back in the game 6 that the Ray Allen shot is that play 3 out with Chris Anderson at the 5.
That's
And
the only play, and they didn't play him much across the playoffs. Chris Anderson was the acquisition that led them to 27
I mean, they also
consecutive
played
wins.
in Cleveland. He played with Tristan Thompson. Like they played plenty of lineups where he played like they played more 3 out with like a pick and roll 5.
No, okay, let me just put it in order because now we're talking about different teams. So with the Heat, the problem was inside. They got Chris Anderson to fix that problem, and they ended up benching him because LeBron's offense was not doing that well with him. He was good, but he wasn't like that was not his comfort zone. And in terms of the Cavs, the issue was mainly all of these contracts that you keep giving players, and also the fact that you have Kevin Love, whose best strength is rebounding, and you're putting him in a Matt Bonner role.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's detrimental to the team. I think if the team utilized Kevin Love more as a Kevin Love, it would have been a better team because they needed that force. They needed that it factor. They played like every other team when they shouldn't have played like every other team. They should have been a unique team that relied on the rebounding of Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love because these were two of the best offensive rebounders in the league, and they didn't use that. They just stretched the floor and used Tristan Thompson for screen and rolls. That's it.
But their offense was amazing in the playoffs.
Yeah, because of the shooting, not because of the offensive rebounding. And
But
I mean, like,
do you think it's going to be better with offensive rebound? That's hard to imagine. It's going
yeah,
to be higher than
I
because
think it is. If you have an edge like that, you use it. You'll still be a good shooting team, obviously, but I mean, you should use it more. Is what I'm
but
saying. I think he was.
I think
I'm not. By the way, I'm not saying LeBron's teams were bad because he was still. It was still one of the best teams in the league. But I'm talking about the things that separate, like the matchup problems for the best teams in the league against each other. I think there was always something that teams could hunt in LeBron's teams that could have been avoided if the team was just organically built rather than we need to surround LeBron with shooters and then we can think about the repercussions and do some mid-season uh, acquisitions to fix the issues that were created by the over emphasis on shooting. He doesn't need shooters. Yes, he plays better with shooters, but he's too good of an offensive player to be surrounded with three shooters at all times. Usually, shooters aren't that good as defenders or rebound. There are exceptions, yes, but the league as a whole did not have a lot of good shooting bigs who were also good defenders, or good shooting like wings who were also elite defenders. I mean, Shane Battier was great for him, but that's the only player, and then KCP with the Lakers. But outside of these two, and they ended up giving KCP up because they LeBron wanted Russell Westbrook. Like
Oh yeah, that was terrible.
I don't even know why they did that. Like why he needed another star. He's
I
very
hated that so much at the
yeah.
time.
Like KCP was the perfect fit
I
for that.
I do want to fight back on some of it. I think one of the issues for Kevin Love is that I think the league defensively just ran away from him, where he just and the team they played in the finals all the time, the Warriors, just kept hunting him, and I think that was a big issue. That they just got really unlucky that the superstar they were supposed to get just ended up being not that valuable because people hunted him all the time, and they played a team that was perfectly equipped to not really care about him that much and like really not even not care about him, but like exploit him. But also like if the Cavaliers get a little more lucky and don't have their two stars hurt at the same time in 15, and Kevin Durant don't go to the Warriors and form the best team of all time, they won. Like they could win. They could have won like 3 or 4 championships.
That's true,
Like,
but then again, LeBron has been good for I don't know, 19 years, 20 years, 21 years. He had
but I
so
also
many.
think that says something about how good
The fact
LeBron
that
is.
Kobe still has more rings than him is crazy. The fact that Tim Duncan still
I
has
think
more.
that's more luck than anything.
Tim Duncan has more. No, I don't think it's just luck. I think the fact that the
Really?
whole league doesn't have a single five-time champion right now for the first time in history means something. It's like the league as a whole, yes, it became harder to build dynasties, but that's also partly because LeBron embraced the whole super team thing and it didn't work well for the league. So now the league is more competitive than ever because it didn't work. Before that, like if LeBron wasn't so traumatized by the Celtics, I think his career could have done better. Like he could have probably let his GMs handle things and he could have had 5 championships. I think the Lakers particularly were the most atrocious because that team had so much potential.
Mm, I do agree with that. I mean, also, just to talk more about the game, I will say one of the things I disagree with, like, it's I think LeBron's big strength to me is that you could put him on any team, and even the bad teams, if you just get him 3 and D role players and a five who can like roll and protect the rim,
Yeah,
you're gonna be
you're gonna
damn
make the finals and lose. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
yeah, if you play the Warriors. But
If you
like
play any team, really, like if you played any contender with that lineup, you're going to look good, but then you're going to
but
lose.
even if
You
you
need
get to the final, even
you
if
need
you
multiple strengths to win a championship. You cannot just rely on one guy doing everything and looking good while his teammates look bad, and then you lose, and then he needs more help, and then he gets the wrong
I
kind of
also
help, and
think
then
if you are like a team that's pretty decent to go to the championship, if you get to the championship, like even if whoever you're playing, you are at a there's some odds that you win. You're probably 20 any series, there's like a 20% chance that you win. Like 20%, like it's not that much, but it's still if you would like go to bad teams and floor race them so much that they're now a 20% title favorite. Like that's like the third best team in the league in terms of title odds or something.
yeah. I
Like
mean, I'm not saying LeBron is worse than MJ as a player or worse than Kobe. Of course, he's not worse than Kobe, but I mean, the nitpicking here is just the aspect of I think it takes more than one player floor raising to win, and I think having good coaches and GMs who can do their jobs
But I think the
professionally.
thing, yeah, I think what you go into is more the GME thing, and whatever
And the
I think of
coaching
that is,
too. I think Kobe and Jordan. I don't know if LeBron became a star first and then got Phil Jackson. I think Phil Jackson would look like a bad coach.
what if LeBron ends up on the Lakers? Do
Before, as a rookie, maybe that would be
if
perfect.
he as a rookie gets drafted by the
The
Lakers?
Spurs also, yeah. If he ends up with Phil Jackson and or Bob before he became a star, like when he's still coming into the league, yeah, sure, they could have raised him into a player they can like build a team around, and he knows what he needs to do and what he doesn't need to do, and that would be it. But the fact that he played in dysfunctional teams in his early years made him want to be the coach and GM of every team he plays in, and that's difficult. That makes it difficult. And actually, I think the fact that he has 4 championships in spite of that, that's crazy. Like the fact that he, especially the 2016 and 2020 ones, because in the Heat he still had a good coach and a good GM who did their job partially at least. I mean, he tried to get Spo fired, but he didn't. So that's that's something. But the 2016 team and the 2020 team, they were built well despite his tendency to fire the coach at the first inconvenience, or interrupt the GM at the first inconvenience. Like one star gets injured and LeBron
I
is
mean, I
like,
do think in 2020 you can say it was because of that, because they got Frank Vogelin, who was a really good defensive coach, instead of Luke Walton, and
yeah. But
they
if
ended up
if
getting
if AD
AD
got
having
injured, if AD got
getting
injured in
Channing.
2020, if AD got injured in 2020 instead of 2021, I don't think LeBron will have the patience for that team in 2021.
Oh yeah, sure, but
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You need more than just one player being so good that it doesn't match. LeBron is so good that he makes unwinnable situations look winnable, look close enough to being winnable, that you continue with these weak formulas. I think in sports you need more than just one guy who's too good.
I
He's
mean, in
so
with those
he's,
Cavs team that you talked about and criticized, they also did win. And if they weren't going up against the best team ever, like in the 17 team, they were probably better than the 16 team. If they're just going up against someone that isn't the KD Warriors, there's a pretty decent chance they win the championship again.
that's my point. They were winning. I'm not by winning. I don't mean a championship.
But
I
he
mean
was the
he
one that
was
blew it off.
winning.
Kyrie
He
Irving
was
was.
winning in spite of everything being done wrong. With the
I
Cavs
don't
for
think it
four
was
years,
100%.
a lot
I
of
just
things were
disagree
done
with
wrong.
that.
In the Cavs in the early years, they were the top seed twice, and they made the finals a third year. So 3 out of 4 years, they looked like a legit contender when they were not. And then with the Cavs again in 2018, they did everything wrong twice, and they still made the finals. Like they had two different teams, one before the deadline and one after the deadline, and both teams sucked, and they still made the finals. I don't know if you remember the amount of movements they made mid-season that year.
Oh yeah,
That was
they're terrible, and
they had two
LeBron was
terrible
banged
teams.
back.
Not They didn't play in one terrible team in 2018. He played in two terrible teams, and both of them made the finals. And that's probably why the 2019 Lakers didn't work. It was the Western Conference. He probably thought he would lead that team as well, but they didn't have shooters. That's the only difference. That team did not have shooters. That's the difference between the 2018 post trade deadline Cavs and the 2019 Lakers. The
Yeah, they just had
2019
a
Lakers looked more
shooting.
like the pre-deadline Cavs. They were filled with like talent, yes, but not good fit next to LeBron. So the injury also didn't help. But like I don't think even outside of that injury they would have done anything, because even though they were talented young players, Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram are not good fits. Like not good fits with LeBron at all. And that's another reason. That's like why they needed to do this overhaul in 2020. But like what happened in 2021, I think if they lost in 2020 for any reason, LeBron wouldn't have the patience to do it again and win. And that's partially what happened in 2017 when Kyrie demanded a trade, he was like, "Yeah, Derrick Rose, Isaiah Thomas, like Dwayne Wade." That's like going to the grocery
I don't
store
think
and
that
like,
was just what was there. I don't know how much. I think that was him
what?
himself doing it. I think
What
that
do you
was
say?
just what was there in a sense. I don't know how much that was him doing it. I do think we gotta wrap up because we're on hour
Yeah,
3 and it's like past
yeah, yeah.
midnight.
So yeah, of course, the whole LeBron thing is nitpicking. He is,
We'll
as a
get to him when we
basketball,
get to his career. We'll get
on the court, nothing is wrong with his game. But like, if I'm
we
nitpicky enough,
we
that's
will
why
get
I
to
pick
him.
MJ. Yeah, like that's it.
Let's we'll be on my channel next week. It's probably be on Saturday. It's gonna oh no, probably have to be on Sunday next week. It'll be Easter Sunday.
Mhm.
So but let's do it'll probably be Sunday. I don't know what we do. I don't know if I'll have time to get through Kobe films, so it'll probably be something else. But
Yeah, we'll talk about
we'll
it.
figure it
And yeah, everyone that was, I mean, that we had two views at a time today. That was good. So to our two viewers and anyone else who watched this on replay, um, I hope you had a good time. That was the longest show so far. And shout out to Jason Grills, shout out to Kingster, shout out to Ron, and yep, have a good one and a happy Easter. I guess it's next week, right? So happy Easter in advance. So yeah, see you all later.